now.
Okay.
Now we're good.
You good?
Yeah, we're good now.
Are we actually recording this
We're
time?
actually recording this time. You can go ahead and do the intro.
Great. I mean, it's kind of like we talk to no one anyways.
Yeah,
so,
it's just fine. No one's gonna see this.
Welcome to everyone. Welcome to everyone.
Everyone's
Books,
welcome.
Buddies, and Thanks. The Book Club podcast. People want to read but feel like they don't have the time, and where you get points for trying. We're your hosts, Maggie
And Theresa, and on today's episode of Books, Buddies, and Beguiling, Odysseus rolls high on all of his charisma checks, except one that we are agreeing he fumbled.
It was a pretty big fumble. It was like you get nat 20s and then suddenly just get a nat 1.
That sounds like a very unbalanced die, but I feel like when
actually, considering the way the story is told, he got the nat 1 and now he's getting the nat 20.
That's true. If we're talking as far as a linear progression, yes, he got the nat. Yeah. He started off with a bunch of nat 1s, and then he got his nat 20s, and now he's doing okay.
Which we were just talking when we realized we weren't actually recording, that the Iliad's a very linear story, and I had not, as someone who has never read the Odyssey before, I know the story, but my experience with the Odyssey is through the Brother, Where Art Thou movie, which tells the story of the Odyssey also in a very linear fashion.
Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, wait, I didn't know. That movie was like a retelling of the Odyssey?
There's a Cyclops in it, Theresa!
Okay, look, in my defense, I have not watched the Odyssey, or not the Odyssey. I haven't watched Oh Brother, Where Art Thou in
you should.
Probably 10 years.
Oh my gosh, amazing movie soundtrack.
No, it's a great movie, and I do love it. I just haven't watched it in years. I just remember that the part where they were in the theater, and he's like, "We thought you was a toad." I quote that a lot.
I actually really like the movie soundtrack, and I put a couple of them on our shared playlist.
Yeah. I want to see if it's streaming.
The song, As I Go Down to the River to Pray, is like one of the songs that reminds me the most of one of my grandmothers, because she used to listen to that. So like whenever I hear that, I'm like, oh, that reminds me of games. And my...
I like
All Fly Away was actually sung at my great aunt's funeral. Oh. It's a very good song.
I like Oh Brother, what's it? I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow.
I'm a Man of Constant Sorrow.
That's a good one.
It's good.
Oh yeah, and the main character's name is Ulysses. Oh god, man, I feel stupid for not noticing that. All right, I'm gonna have to watch this movie again later on and really think about it.
It's basically a modern retelling of the Odyssey, but it's a very linear movie.
Yeah.
So that's why I wasn't really expecting the actual Odyssey by Homer to be kind of told through retelling.
Yeah, and
it's like pretty much the entirety of like the adventures of how these people get home is told by people at parties. It's like people are at a party and they're like recounting what happened.
Yeah, and I think, well, I know that the epic musical concept album, that's very linear. The Jay decided to write that whole thing in a linear fashion. He took the Odyssey, was like, let's roll it out into its play-by-plays, and cut out all that middle extra stuff. Which I will say, I also was kind of like, man, I kind of wish something like that had happened, but to be fair, he had 40 songs and cut a lot of the song ideas he had. Because you can't, I mean, this thing is thick, you can't...
It would be kind of funny, though, is if you had, like, one super... I haven't listened to the concept album, except for what you've shared with me.
Oh my god.
It would be really funny, though, well, kind of funny, to have, like, the juxtaposition of, like, that one really intense song of, like, 600... all his men dying, and then jumps to, like, a party song.
Well, that's the thing, people make a lot of jokes.
They're like, let's do track and field.
Yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people make jokes. They're like, don't ever play the album on shuffle because it can get real awkward real quick. You go from like something super serious like Scylla to like suddenly listening to like Dangerous or, you know, something a little bit more goofy and fun. It's a good time
I
though.
mean, that's the nature. That's pretty much the nature of our shared playlists,
It
anyways.
is. It is.
I think it's like you broke the algorithm when the recommended songs are just repeating your playlist.
Yeah, yeah. That is very true.
Anyways,
I had another point that I lost it. I don't remember what it was. Oh, about linear storytelling. So I've not read a whole lot of other ancient literature or old literature, um, except I've got the Iliad, the Odyssey. But the Odyssey, the storytelling style reminds me a lot of Thousand and One Arabian Nights, because it's a lot
yeah.
of like the storytelling isn't linear. It's kind of like little nest eggs, like nested models and stats.
Hmm.
Where like like we'll start the story, but then inside of story one, we're gonna tell story A, B, and C. But inside of story A, we're also gonna tell
Oh my
stories
god, I'm
G, D, and
having
F.
flashbacks. I'm having. You said that now, and I'm having like flashbacks to my stats class.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to make you go there mentally. That's rough.
Like, oh no, I can see the R code now.
Yeah. The pain,
And
the
I
terror.
probably accidentally have a typo somewhere, and now I have to read through all of it in order for it to run.
I was reading an article the other day on. This is an article from 2023 on straws. It was on environmental impacts of different types of straws. So I was on this whole rabbit hole about straws, and I was reading this article, and one of their graphs had a very glaring typo, and I'm like, how did that make it past the editorial board? Because staring at it for like 10 minutes, I'm like, this makes zero sense, and then I realized where the typo was, and I'm like, oh, well, that sure.
I've I oh gosh, I think I was reading a modern. Oh god, what was I reading?
I don't know.
I don't remember what I was reading. Was it a book
Maybe,
or an article? Maybe it was an article.
maybe.
I was reading something on something.
Yeah,
I'm losing my mind.
yeah. It's the weather, man. I just want to be outside again. I don't. It's
Dude, I
so
like
nice out.
finally feel like this is the perfect weather to read the Odyssey
I
because it's been sunny
I
and
know.
nice all week in Ohio. This is the first week of the year it's been this way.
It's so nice. I was outside for probably a total of like 3 hours today, and I want to go back out.
Oh, okay. I know the book.
You know
It
the
was a book.
book.
It was a book I complained to you about.
Oh, which one?
It was the one about the I don't want to say the title. I actually am not really comfortable trash talking
No, that's
books.
entirely fair.
Um, I didn't like it because this person, like, supposedly, not supposedly, they do have a PhD in this field. And I, as an amateur in the field, it's a historical field.
Ah,
It's you know what I'm talking about now?
I think I do.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
checked it out from the library, thank God.
Yeah, you didn't spend money on it. Hi,
Yeah.
buddy.
I
Yeah,
love libraries. But it was
libraries are
like
great.
there was so much about the book, and it was traditionally published book. And it's like I could have written this, and I don't even have a PhD in this area. That's what it felt like. It was so disappointing. And then there was like there was like a couple typos, but there was also like there was just some paragraphs that it's like this isn't good.
Oh,
Who
God.
edited this?
So I'm writing my dissertation right now, and
Yeah.
I've been working on it, and I would do a lot of benchmarking in academia, where you'll go to another paper and you'll find how they phrase things or do things, and then you'll like I want to say reappropriate it, but like you don't copy paste and paste, you phrase it. That's what we do. We like to do that. We like to piggyback and build
Well,
off of
yeah.
people. But I was reading this paper, and I was like, I read this same paragraph like a dozen times. I'm like, why would you word it this way? Like, I finally figured out what you were trying to tell me, but this is like my undergrad students could have written this procedure better. Why did you make it so convoluted and confusing? Like, it was so wordy and unnecessary, and like
Honestly,
it kept turning back on itself, and I'm like, please, I could say the same thing you just did in like 3 sentences, and you use like 7 or 8. Like, calm down. You're
science
okay.
communication is so important. It's like, well, good writing. Having
Oh
good
god,
writing
so
skills
important.
is so important. And Chat GPT doesn't count.
Because it's not good writing. It's
It's not.
formulaic writing, which can sometimes help make good writing, but it can't make, like, on its own, it can't make good writing. It just doesn't.
I've never, well, first of all, I've never cheated in at least writing tools.
Yeah. Well,
Ever.
we didn't have that growing
Even when
up.
they probably
To
could
be
have been
fair.
helpful. Never did. And so Homer certainly did not have the writing tools we had today.
Right. Right. The only thing I've gotten closest to in using AI for anything has been, like an AI writing tool has been, I had an old 1960s or 1950s survey I was using for a study that didn't exist digitally anywhere. So I had to get the physical old musty copy from the library archives, and I scanned them, and instead of individually typing out each of the questions again with results, I put it through an AI system and I was like, turn this picture into text for me, and it did it. And it was really nice.
Well,
I was like, thank you. You saved me like an hour of having to individually retype out all of the questions and the responses. It was
yeah.
nice. It was nice. I will give AI that one little bonus. All right. We
Um,
should probably talk about the book now.
we should probably talk about the book. We went on a bit of a tangent there.
We did. We did. It was mostly
That's him.
relevant. All right. So,
Okay, so the nonlinear structure. So, well, okay, we left off. Odysseus is in a bush, and so
is
now
it
he
a
finally
bush?
is like discovered. He's finally getting help. La di da
Wait,
di da.
wait. We didn't even introduce to like the people who rescued him. Like,
But
that's a whole
yeah, the
chapter.
Vikings.
That's like a whole
Well, okay,
chapter. We can't just skip that chapter with
I'm not skipping the
Nausicaa.
chapter. I'm just introducing the chapter. Anyways, so the Phaeacians, on the island of Scheria, which, as we learned in last episode,
Not
2 weeks
real.
ago,
Not a real
is not
place.
actually a real
You can't
island.
actually go there, guys. There are no, and I mean no cruises that are going to stop in port at Scaria.
Well, how about, oh my gosh, that must have been like at least 5 to 10 minutes of us just like arguing and looking at the map and then finally just Googling it, only for Google to tell us this isn't a real island.
Bro, it's right next to the North Pole in freaking fairy tale land. What are you talking about?
If these are actually Fae. This is the Greek. I'm kidding. They're not the Greek version of Fae.
You know, the
These are
nymphs
normal.
the nymphs kind of are though, the way they're described, and like the fact that,
Yeah,
Calypso has her like little Fae island. And I mean Circe is so Fae coded. She's like the Fae
that's
queen.
that's true.
So I wouldn't put it past them to like, I feel like that's a
But
very simple or
the
very
Phaeacians are just really happy. They're just like it's like they're in Disneyland
they're so
all the
happy.
time. They're just so happy and wealthy and fruitful
Yeah.
and they're just the
Yeah.
perfect people to help poor Odysseus.
Also, according to, again, I'm not an expert, but looking at the pronunciation guide in my translation, it's pronounced Phaeacian, so it's a sh with the
Oh,
C sound.
where is it? Um, Phaeacian?
Phaeacian. So the
Okay, so
people, yeah.
I don't have a pronunciation guide. I was
Well,
saying
I had to
Phaeacian
look it up. I had to look
because
up.
it's like because it's spelled Phaia with a accent Kians.
Oh, so you have a K in yours. Okay, mine is. Let me find an actual spelt out version of it here. Is Phaeacia. So Phaeacia
Mm.
is how it's spelt in and pronounced in our translation. I was mostly looking at the translation guide because I know I say Nausicaa wrong because I pronounce it
Okay, it's Nausicaa in mine
via
too.
via the Ghibli Studios Nausicaa, which is like my favorite movie. It's apparently, according to the Greek translation, it is Nausicaa, which makes
Oh,
sense with
it's
that double
fancy.
A.
I've been saying Nausicaa too,
Yeah,
to be
because
fair.
that's
I
how they
don't even have
say
a
it.
pronunciation guide.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, speaking of Nausicaa,
Anyways, so Scary Island. So in my translation on
scary.
it's near line 10. It mentions that parsed out the black land for the plow. I thought that was really interesting. So black land is nutrient-rich land, and it's mostly found only in Eastern Europe. So like the Russian steppe region is has like black soil that's really fertile for plowing. That's why it was fought over so much. And then it's the only other like natural occurrence of it is like in the Americas.
Oh, so that's a really interesting piece of information that I
Uh,
wouldn't have been able to
and
pick
like
up on. That's neat.
yeah, so they're just super rich,
Yeah.
just not just
So
in
my
soil as well.
so my translation doesn't mention it being black soil. They just sort of allude to this idea that it's just very good soil, great for harvesting. You know,
Oh,
it's like that's all
he
they say in my
specifically
translation.
says black land for the plow. So my biology brain is like, oh, I know what this is.
Mine just says they shared the land for plowing, and then they just they wanted to be like, yeah, it's cool, it's good
Oh,
soil.
you know, it's not just good soil,
It's
Teresa. It's
good.
like the best
It's
soil
the best soil you'll ever get anywhere.
in this region of the
Yeah.
world. Yes.
So
Um.
I started
Oh,
a
I
running.
wanted.
Oh yeah.
I actually no. You go first. Then we can talk
I just want to
about what I
say
wanted.
this particular set of chapters just kind of spurred me to start a running list of all the different disguises that Athena comes in to like do her little plan. And so far I have here's the running list from the beginning: Mentees, Telemachus himself at one point, Mentor, Iphthyma or Iphthyme, and then this new one that we introduced this chapter is Dymus's daughter, who doesn't get a real name in my translation. She's just Dymus's daughter. But she serves,
I was
or
reading it.
I
I
guess,
Dude, names are hard for me to remember on a good day.
I mean, true, but, I don't know. But Dymus, who's a shipman, this is important to know, which I believe, like, everyone in Phaeacia is a shipman from the way they describe them. But
Dude, their names are like
do we'll get there.
names.
They all have WWE fighting names for some reason. Like they all have stage names. I'm trying to figure that one out.
I think I would sincerely let me see.
You
Let
can
me
try to
see.
find the list. There's a list.
There's a list.
There's a list. Anyway,
We all know. We all know. We all know that Homer loves his list.
he likes lists, man, and he likes family trees like a lot.
He
Um,
does. It makes sense because so Lord of the Rings has also a lot of family trees.
uh huh, uh huh. Keep talking. Hitting my
I
water.
I took my my sip of water. And that's something that's really common in a lot of ancient epics and also the Bible.
The Bible. They do a lot of genetic.
Bible at all, Theresa.
Like
there's entire chapters just for family trees.
They always do that one reading during the Easter Vigil Mass, where they go through the genealogy of Jesus.
Bro,
and I'm
I
like,
stopped going to the Easter Vigil Mass in high school because it is too late.
oh my god,
it is too late to go through that.
So my parents used to do it, but the way they would bribe us is like, one, we got to always hold our own candle, which as a child you get to have dominion over your own flame. That's a rad. And two,
actually, that was one of the things that I liked about the Vigil Mass is that you had the candles, and there's a lot more symbolism and participation of the.
It's a lot more intense. My parish I grew up in also used to do like this whole like musical element, so it was very like kind of gospel, honestly. And then they'd always read that one list. It was like, and here's how we go from these old kings all the way down to Jesus. I always thought it was kind of fun, like, to do the whole line, like, okay, let's keep going. As a kid, I was always like, okay, whatever. But as an adult, I kind of like, oh, that was interesting to see how I got from point A to point B. But then my parents would also take us out to get Frosties afterwards.
Oh my god.
Which we would never get fast food. It was such a treat. It's a treat. We got Frosties. And then we'd go to bed.
Frosties are gluten-free.
They're also...
from Wendy's? We're talking Frosties from Wendy's.
Yes, Wendy's Frosties. Yes.
They're delicious.
They are. I haven't had one in years, though.
I can't have dairy anymore.
I can't really either. Also, very off topic again. So Athena shows up as Dimas' daughter to Nausicaa as she's sleeping with all of her ladies' maids, and it was like, hey, you know what you should do? You should go clean your clothes.
You know, speaking of the Bible, what does this remind you of? Very important figure in Catholic.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel so bad right now. I know. There's a bit. Was this how Moses was found? Or is this different? I didn't know there's a
New Testament. Huh? I mean, you're not wrong, but I was thinking New Testament as well.
Oh, I'm not as well versed in the New Testament.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of biblical parallels to this like one specific scene.
You'll have to tell it to me. I'm so.
Jesus' mom.
Who?
Jesus' mom.
Oh, right. Mary was out doing her laundry when Gabriel visited.
Yeah.
I totally forgot she was doing that. She was doing her laundry.
She did it in a dream, and as being the badass that she is, as a 13-year-old woman,
which is weird
in that time period, she said yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Honestly, every time I do laundry now, I'm gonna be like really scared. Like, am I gonna get a vision?
Oh my god. This naked man just walks into the laundry room.
Hell no. Which I had a question, because they say...
You're skipping the most important part of the scene, too. There's women that are not doing
They're not weaving. They're doing something else with clothes. They're washing them, not making them. Well, later on we get that. But for this particular scene, we're just washing the clothes. They're already made.
Honestly, party. I kind of, like, it's a washing party.
It was kind of cute, yeah. They made a picnic and everything, and they're like, let's go down to the river and wash some clothes. Like, I wish I had that kind of whimsy in my day.
I did. I for sure did.
I don't have a river to wash my clothes in. And also, I would not trust any rivers near me. At all.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I'll use my washing machine.
That's fair. That's very.
But they do.
Not
at least in my translation, I don't know if it is the same in yours, but they do refer to Nausicaa as a young girl, Which,
She's a maiden. That's the most important part.
yes, but like I do wonder, like this is purely my curiosity of how young she is, because they always refer to her as a
They
girl.
don't actually, well, they don't actually specify that she's a young girl in my translation. They
Yeah,
do just specify that
she's
she is a
of
girl.
she's of marrying age though by their
Yeah.
cultural traditions, and she
So
is.
maybe she's like 14.
That's what I'm thinking. Like she's like a teen of some kind, because she definitely gives off that kind of like I'm kind of a romantic. I'm kind of a little
Teenage.
flighty.
She also kind of has that rebellious teenage angst going on of
She's got a
only the most. She's like, it's like Elizabeth in Pride and Prejudice. Only the most, how's it phrased? Only the most true, absolute and true love will convince me to marry, which is why I will die an old maid.
yeah. Which
I'm probably misquoting that, but it's
yeah.
on Netflix right now, so I can just rewatch it.
Yeah. No, I get your point. Um but yeah. So then she's like, "Okay, I've got this vision. I'm gonna go do the washing." And she like goes up to her dad and her mom and are like, "Hey, can I like take our coolest car out today?" And they're like, "Absolutely, because we love you and we're good supportive parents." And we can't say no to
Well,
you.
it's not just that. It's she's like, they need clean
They
clothes.
do, because
But
she's
also,
like, I
how
cannot.
else are they supposed to clothe Odysseus?
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, that's all Athena's plan, yes. But, like,
Yeah.
I like that she's like, oh my god, I can't stand the thought of you guys in, like, dirty clothes. I have to go clean them right now. And they're like, okay, go, do it, have fun. And so they do. And I will say, they note, I made a note in here. And the queen gave her a gold flask of suppling olive oil. And I'm like, that seems too specific not to be important later. And I was right.
There's a lot of tree references in this.
I know. I just think it's funny when they like
It's
say
like,
something and I'm like, oh, it's gotta be
there's so
relevant.
much tree stuff. I'm
Yeah.
loving it. Because like when Odysseus walks up to Nausicaa,
Yeah.
now that I know how to pronounce that, because I've been saying Nausicaa this entire time.
Same.
Nausicaa. Now that Odysseus, when Odysseus does walk up to Nausicaa, he covers himself with an olive
Which
branch.
I do want to point out, he was in fact naked.
Yeah.
That was a thing from
Not a
last
big
time
deal.
where you're like, no, he just took his cloak off. And I'm like, no, this man is
Well,
skinny
okay,
dipping in
here's
the
thing.
ocean.
Why would you take it's just the survival thing of why would you take off your clothes
No, I
in
think that's a good point. Yeah. Why would you? But
because like I get the cloak being torn away from him because
yeah.
that's like loose clothing
Yeah.
that like can drag you down. But like in terms of body heat, like you want to conserve your body heat as much as possible, and his clothing would have been made from really good material
Uh-huh.
because it wasn't mass produced.
Yeah.
So it's like in my mind, I'm like, from a survival standpoint, like you wouldn't want to be naked.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he was naked, and
Yeah.
Natsumia, she's just like, she just rolls with it. She's like, okay,
Yeah, cause
no, I
he
can help
just
you.
and he like just pops out of the bushes and is like, "Help! I
Well,
need
he
help."
compares her also, like
Oh,
this is the first nat 20.
he
This
is
is the first nat 20 he rolled.
he is
Because he
full.
walks up naked to this young girl and he's like comparing her to a young palm tree.
Yeah, it was like the
So
weirdest
beautiful.
flirting, like,
It's not flirting though.
but
It's not flirting.
it's like it's so weird to be like, and you are as attractive as this one particular tree I saw once, so that I was like, that's a beautiful tree. You're like that, and I'm like, like I
Well,
get
I
it.
kind of
It's kind of
because they
cute.
compliment. Well, they compliment a lot of people. So it's more. It's really more along the lines of. I kind of felt it more like buttering a person up
Yeah, it was
than not.
definitely like a tactic. Like he out here like
Yeah,
rizzing her up, like
smart.
you're so cool, you're so awesome, and since you're so awesome, you should help me. That's what an awesome person would do, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Um, and to her credit, she's like, she doesn't even think about it. She goes, "Yeah, we'll help you.
Yeah.
What hardship?" Oh, there's a line she says that I highlighted. Um, You know Zeus metes out fortune to good and bad men, as it pleases him.
Mm-hmm.
Hardship he sent you, and you must bear it.
I
But now you have taken refuge here, and you shall not lack for clothing and any other comfort to a poor man in distress. And I just thought that was really powerful
I
because,
highlighted the same line because I was like,
oh my gosh,
that's
you
a good
highlighted the
point.
same line.
I did. Because
And also, she
yeah.
says later on that strangers and beggars come from Zeus. So
Yeah.
it just goes to show that, like, showing kindness is universal.
Yeah. They do have and we'll get to it, but there's another point later where I have a question about hospitality with these people. But, yeah, then the suppling olive oil comes back into play. They're like, here, we'll
Oh
leave
my
you some of the
god.
clothes that we were
Well,
drying.
the anointing of oil is important imagery in pretty much any religious text.
It is, and it's also historical in the sense that this is pre-soap. They're predating soap. Oil was
Yeah.
their means of cleaning in a way. So they'd put it in their hair,
But
on their
also
skin. It was like a
refreshing the skin. Like
yeah.
they're talking about how great their skin is
And
too.
their hair and their skin, always great. I'm a little
Even oh my
jealous.
gosh, I thought this was so funny because after Odysseus bathes, his hair is described as it's like Athena lent a hand, making him seem taller and massive too, with crisping hair and curls like petals of wild hyacinth, but all were golden. Think of gold infused on silver by a craftsman whose fine art his Festus taught him.
Okay, I need to read my translation because it's also hilarious.
Oh my
Uh,
gosh, what does yours
So
say?
Athena made him taller to all eyes. She ran his curls like thick hyacinth clusters full of blooms. As a master craftsman washes gold over beaten silver, a man the gold of fire, and Queen Athena trained in every fine technique, and finished off his latest effort. Handsome work. So she lavished splendor over his head and shoulders now. And I'm like, why is this your plan, Athena? Is she just like I hear? Okay, so here's what I think Athena's thought process here is, which I think works. I hate it, but it works. Is that she's like, what if everyone's in love with Odysseus? Then no one can help but help him,
So
right? They're all in love.
I don't disagree with you, but I am going to push back a little bit because we have a very deep-seated view of humanity that beauty
Oh,
equals
oh,
goodness.
pretty privilege, and Odysseus has all of it now.
Yeah, so it served him well. So after Nausicaa said yes,
She's like,
and
got
she
it.
goes and helps Odysseus, it's like, okay, so now that he has like one step down, he has to convince other people to like him in
Yeah.
order to help him. So now he has to be pretty.
Right. And I do like that, like, not like, but I do think it's funny that she also makes a lot of these little, like, side jabs, like, man, I wish I could get a man like you. And he's just like, I love my wife.
But oh, another Lord of the Rings reference.
Okay. Go on, I'm drinking. I'm drinking.
I thought it was really funny because in so there is a very core myth. Well, not myth. There's a very core story at the heart of Lord of the Rings, and it is Tolkien's love letter to his wife. Essentially, it is the tale of Beren and Luthien. And in this tale, very similar to Odysseus, is Beren is lost from a battle, and he stumbles upon Luthien, this vision of divinity and beauty, and singing in a meadow, and instantly falls in love with her.
She's a pretty, pretty elf.
She is a pretty elf.
Mm-hmm.
And a whole bunch of stuff happens there. I'm not going to recount the entire tale of Beren and Luthien because it's like a 20-page chapter in the Silmarillion, but you should go check it out.
Yeah.
It's like the ultimate love letter.
There's also a really good song I like based off of it called,
Really?
yeah. Oh, Luthien. I think it's Luthien's Lament by
Oh,
Uriel.
yeah,
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. It's
and
a
it was
very
the
good song.
first time a mortal and an elf had ever been wedded
Yeah.
together.
This song makes me tear up. It's so good. Um,
Mm-hmm.
But back to the story. So she's like, at first,
I'm kind of like onto Gardens and Fireflight now.
yeah, real quick. I just one last note on like how the story's progressing. So then she's like,
Oh yeah.
"Hey, come with me. I'll take you to my castle." And it's like, "Wait a minute. No, bigger, different idea. How about instead we go ahead. You chill here. You come after us, because otherwise, like, people can gossip. People can gossip about you in my car. I can't have that. I'm a woman of repute.
Yeah,
I'm a
which
maiden
fair.
of marriageable age, and I don't want people to think that I'm just scallivanting off with some random dude I found on the beach." And so, like, yeah, good point. And
She's
so,
like one of the few women in this novel in Homer. She's like one of the
yeah,
few women in Homer's epics that is both good
yeah,
and has agency. And
yeah,
I stress the good because that's not always because
yeah.
it feels like because sometimes, a lot of times, women with agency in Greek epics are not that great.
Not always, yeah. They get
Um,
a bad name, bad rap.
yeah.
But
But you know, Nausicaa, she's good.
I do think it's important though to note that her original instinct was to be the model host, to be like, all right, I'll take you there. But then she kind of was like, well, I'll wait, but it might also be better because I don't want people to think bad of you as
Well,
well. Like, it'll probably be better for both of us to play this a little differently.
so she also tells him to go to a grove of poplars to
Yes.
wait for a sign.
Which is like,
And he'll know the sign.
and it's Athena's grove, which is important to
It
note.
is a
It's
penis grove.
Athena's grove, which she's probably like, ha ha ha, according to plan.
Oh my gosh. Alright, so the beginning of book.
Oh, sorry, one last
What
note.
is it
She
remind you
does,
of?
1 minute,
What does it remind you of?
one minute,
Please,
one
please,
last
what
note.
does it remind you
Okay,
of?
okay. Well, that's the beginning of this one.
Yeah.
Uh, I I don't know. It's just Nausicaa, like, going back home.
No, Odysseus is in the poplar grove.
Oh, for me that's the end of the last book. Is him
Oh.
hanging out there. At the beginning of,
Well, first of all, he's praying in a grove of trees, which
yes.
also quite biblical.
Yes.
And well, I'm talking about this with my mom, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can totally see it. And she goes, remember this was written before the Bible, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, cool.
You mean the Bible ripped off the Odyssey?
Well, it's more so and there's actually a podcast. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but I'll listen to this one when my mom sends episodes
We
because she
say as we're
listens to
making one.
um yeah. It's called Symbolic World with Jonathan Pajot, and it talks a lot about the universe. I've talked about this with you.
Yeah.
It's like this universal history and this universal symbolism that and even Tolkien comments on it. There is a quote from Tolkien. It's on our Pinterest board.
I'll have to look at it. I haven't read through all of the inspirational quotes on there.
It says, we have come from God, and inevitably the myths woven by us, though they contain error, will also reflect a splintered fragment of the true light, the eternal truth that is with God. And I know not everyone's Catholic, not everyone's even religious, but I do think this points to a larger sense of humanity and community with each other, that we have a lot of universal symbolism and a lot of universal elements
Yeah.
within different religions and different myths.
Yeah, and I think a different but similar point is, we've got the hero with 1,000 faces. Storytelling is, I don't want to say formulaic because that makes it sound like it's unoriginal, but we do have a lot of very similar
That
central
was original,
themes and
Teresa.
imagery, right? We'd like to reuse symbolism and imagery and themes a lot, so it's definitely makes sense. I was thinking the same thing when I was reading that bit actually. And then
Anyways,
yeah,
so there's a who comes to Odysseus
Athena
as
as a small child,
carrying,
a water pitcher.
and what does that remind you of? You love the musical. I'm sorry, I'm yelling. I don't mean to.
What? I'm talking about epic?
No!
Because it's not a musical yet.
It's a more modern musical. It's French.
Les Mis?
Yes!
Oh, I'm like meh about Les Mis. I think it's
How dare
good.
you?
It's just like
Oh my god.
look. I've seen the
How
movie. I've seen
it's
parts of
that.
the play. I've never read the book. All right.
It's not,
I know
okay.
it is a
I
classic.
can't get into why you're wrong at the moment.
I don't know. It didn't like I've written a lot of school reports on the French Revolution.
If you have not
I
seen
have not
the
seen them.
Broadway
I
musical
have not.
on stage yet,
I've never seen any Broadway musical on stage. I'm poor.
I'm not rich either, Theresa.
Yeah, but I've never had the opportunities. My parents weren't about to lug 9 children to a Broadway showing. We can't afford that. And as an adult, I don't know. I haven't had the time.
So I would caution you to withhold your judgment on something that you've never consumed or seen and just know the story.
Yeah, no, as I said, I'm meh on it. I don't really have an opinion, really. I've seen the movie.
This is one of my favorite music. I recently saw it with my family, actually, and it was. Oh, I almost cried. I don't cry, so me saying I almost cried in public is a big thing. I don't cry in public. Not that it's not bad to cry in public. I just don't.
Yeah. Yes, but so
the fact that I cry with Theresa is actually a huge step in my emotional vulnerability. But no, I love Imez, and this musical just touches your heart so deeply. And I'm currently reading the book because of the musical.
Yeah,
and I'm
know.
about 500 pages.
Yeah.
I'm actually about 500 pages into the book.
That's wild.
I'm only actually I'm only 500 pages into the book. It's a 1,300 page book.
Yeah.
But one of the most key scenes in the book, and I'm not spoiling anything.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is Jean Valjean, the main character of Les Mis, finds Cosette, a small girl, carrying a bucket of water in the woods.
Yeah. You know, I do feel like I've seen this like imagery a lot though of a small girl in the woods with some vessel holding water. They do that a lot. Probably because that's where wells are. And rivers.
So Hugo actually references Homer quite a few times I've seen so far. He actually does reference Homer in Les Mis a few times. Other than that. But it kind of is doubly like, oh my gosh, I see it now. Because in the book, Cosette is Jean Valjean's salvation because he learns to love another. Because when the bishop saves him, it's learning to love himself as a human being and it's a very Catholic story.
Yeah.
Just gonna put that out there. And learns to love himself as a human being and not just what society has placed on him. You'd love the book. Actually, you'd really like the story.
Oh no, Les Mis has been on my list for a long time. It's just one of those very big books that I'm like, this is an undertaking. You have to be prepared.
I would recommend watching the musical first.
Okay. I really need to get I gotta figure out what kind of off-Broadway showings are going on near me. Because I do want to start getting into seeing plays again.
My family's always really instilled a high value of the arts in all of us.
See, we did not have that because
they raised the artists.
Yeah, we didn't have the money to do that kind of stuff. I mean, we had to get money from charities just to survive. So like
There we go. Okay, sorry, I cut out.
Oh no. It's okay.
So he finds salvation, and kind of the theme of the story is when you learn to love another, you see the face of God. That's like the thesis statement of this book. So in this, it's a god taking the form of a little girl that leads Odysseus to his salvation in finding the people that'll help him get him
Yeah.
home. And in Les Mis, it's a very similar
Yeah.
parallel. Cosette finding Jean Valjean and thus leading him to his salvation as well.
Though in this case, it's...
I got really excited about that.
No, you're good. But in this case, it's a very sassy Athena, who I think, I mean, again, this might be a translational difference, but out the gate, she says, "Hey, old dude," pretty much. She's like, "Oh yes, sir, good old stranger." And I'm like, you didn't have to roast him like that, Athena. First off, you just made him hot, so you can't also call him old. You can't do that.
You have a very disrespectful little girl in yours. I have no such thing in mind.
No, I think it's like a just a colloquialism. I don't think she's really roasting him, but I think it's funny to think that she is, because he doesn't know it's her.
Because I have, oh yes, good grandfurser. It's kind of more the dialect. He kind of translates the dialect a little bit too.
Yeah.
Of calling him grandfur.
Yeah.
I'll show you the house you mean.
So yeah, she's like, I'll take you to the castle. And then again, I think it's really funny because this comes off very awkwardly when you realize, like, we have information as an outside viewer. We know that this is Odysseus, and we know that this is Athena as a small child. But Odysseus doesn't know this is Athena. He just thinks it's a random small child, and that ostensibly she would just be some random girl from this village, this city, this kingdom, just talking to some random guy. And she proceeds to give, like, the whole backstory and genealogy on the queen. And I'm like, that's so random to just give to some dude.
It's not just the queen. Alcinous, too.
Yeah,
and the queen and her, well, I thought it was interesting because... Wait, let me see if this is correct.
I just think it's funny. Like, she just, like, info dumps.
Father. Well, so the original king of Scaria.
Yeah.
Scaria? I've been saying
Scary. It was called Scary Land. Which is funny.
Ironic.
Because it is ironic, right?
Nausithuous.
Yeah.
I have a feeling Nausicaa was named after him.
Oh, she definitely was.
So it's kind of like showing the divine right to rule, which is still a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel...
Ooh, you still there?
That whole history,
Ooh,
half of them are like fabricated so that it leads to, it shows, oh, this person is actually of the house of David and they have the divine right to rule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because otherwise you gotta convince people that they should follow you.
Yeah.
And what better way to do it than through religion?
Yeah, of course. But I also do love that they do note that everyone just also likes her a lot. They're like, she's just a cool queen, a cool lady.
She is.
And everyone loves her, including her husband, who's like a simp. Yeah.
Yeah, she's married to her cousin. But that's okay. At least it's not her brother. Which is actually very possible in this time period.
Yeah, very, very, very. And I'm glad. Oh, that's... Okay, sorry. I had a side note. This is actually rather important that I want to talk about. Yes. So, before the genealogy... and again, this might be a translational thing, so that's why I want to ask about it. When she's saying hello as the little girl, and he's like, "Can you take me to the castle?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And she says, "Now, not a glance at anyone, not a question. The men here never suffer strangers gladly. Have no love for hosting a man from foreign lands." So is she saying that genuinely, or is she just trying to convince Odysseus to be like, just don't bother other people, go straight to the castle?
I think she's just trying to say, don't bother other people, go to the castle.
Okay, because I'm like, that seems odd for for the time and the culture. Like, they're big hospitality people. I can't imagine the people there not wanting to be hospitable.
Well, yeah, because okay. It's only there may have been some reason for this. So, Because in my translation, the only things they trust are the racing ships Poseidon gave.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, big Poseidon people.
They love Poseidon.
Odysseus is not the favorite of Poseidon.
No. Good thing
So
that
I
they
think
don't
that is also
know.
part of it. And she covers him in sea fog. He's only truly welcome after he convinces Nausicaa's mother.
Yes. Already. I think that's how you pronounce her name.
Already?
Already.
Reedy?
I don't know.
Already?
Already sounds like it would. Already? That sounds great. Great, right?
Both of them sound great.
I don't know. But yeah, so she does. She cloaks him in mist, fog, whatever.
He's only truly welcome after he convinces Already to welcome him.
Yes, and Nausicaa told him to
really...
go straight to my mom. Straight to my mom. She's the one you have to get through.
Have you seen My Big Fat Greek Wedding?
I'm gonna watch that right after this, and yes, I love that movie. Such a good movie.
The quote that Mom says in that movie is, "The man may be the head, but the woman is the neck, and the woman can turn the head any which way she wants."
Yes, and that's definitely this. Where Already is queen, but she is queen.
The queen. She's the queen.
She's the queen. She's really in charge.
Her husband is alive, well, she's super rich, wealthy, her island's happy. She's not, moping around like Penelope.
Which, is a bummer. I get it. She was in love with this man, but I'm not gonna lie. After 20 years, maybe gotta find a way to, get a hobby.
It's true love, Theresa.
I don't know, man. She's allowed to continue to mourn.
Have you not seen Princess Bride? Death does not.
No, and I get it.
It's not in true love.
Yeah. No. I think she's allowed to still love him, and she doesn't have to move on romantically. But I don't know. For the sake of her people, I felt like she could have, gone back to rolling a little bit.
She's a woman. She doesn't rule.
Yeah, I know, but she could have done something, help Telemachus or something. I don't know.
Yeah, she was pretty absent as a mom.
20 years? It just seems like a lot.
Actually, that's one thing I wanted to point out is that...
Technically 10 years.
Because, especially in the Iliad, where there's so little female anything.
Anything, yeah. Except fighting over them as property.
Well, there was Hector's wife. She was good.
She was pretty cool.
And then she got sold into slavery because her husband died.
And then her baby fell.
Not a happy ending for her. But what I wanted to point out is that Homer really does, and I think Homer emphasizes this a lot throughout the story, is the importance and power that not only the mother has in the house, but also the nurse. Because the nurse of Nausicaa is also mentioned, and also has a place in the household, and so it's the importance of the women who raise the next generation, not necessarily.
Oh, you cut out for a second there. Maggie, you there?
Yeah?
Alright, you cut out for a minute there.
I don't know what's going on. I'm really comfortable, though, so I'm not gonna move.
That's fair. That's okay. We'll figure it out.
I mean, I did have to move a little because my computer is currently propped up on a pillow, and it's actually warm outside, so I was...
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice outside. I just sat in the sun, in shorts and a t-shirt.
That's crazy. I also did that. Actually, I had a crop top on, and then I had a sweater over that.
Yeah.
It was comfy.
Oh, so they place him... I thought it was interesting. More biblical imagery. I haven't even read the Bible in I don't know how many years. I just pay attention to Mass.
I used to read the Bible.
I probably haven't read the Bible since sophomore year of college is when I had, because I went to a Catholic.
Oh, you cut out again. You good?
Yeah,
Yeah, you cut out again.
this sucks. Anyways,
Yeah.
so going to you went to a Catholic university too,
Yeah, I used to tutor
and you had
theology.
two theology courses. So that I think that was the last time I actually like physically read the Bible. The
Yeah.
rest is like occasionally going to mass every once in a while.
Yeah. I think the last time I really read the Bible was probably senior year of undergrad.
Yeah.
Because I took a lot of theology courses. And then,
But I don't need to reference it so much, but like
well, I mean, it's a
I like
universal.
a bit, not just as like someone who is Catholic, because I know you're no longer practicing Catholic,
Yeah, no.
but also just as a piece of extremely influential literature, even
Yeah.
if you're not religious at all. It is very an influential piece of literature.
Biblical
So that's
imagery is very pervasive in a lot of areas.
I think even without people realizing it.
Yeah. I mean, a lot
And
of.
even without me realizing it, like I'll talk about something with my mom and she goes, "Yeah, that's in the Bible."
It's in the Bible, Maggie.
My mom also has a master's in theology, so she knows way more about it than I do.
I, like, technically have a minor in theology, that's kind of it. Yeah.
But it's like when Odysseus comes in, they set him down in the ashes, so he's like
Yes.
covered in ashes. And I remember, I forget where in the Bible, but there is something about covering yourself in ashes.
There definitely was. I agree. Where? I don't know. But there definitely
Yeah,
was.
some I feel like it's Old Testament
It's a lot. I
because
also
of
think it might be some New Testament because there's also some of that like phoenix imagery with Jesus coming back
oh
from the
yeah,
dead,
yeah,
rising from the ashes,
yeah.
which I know is a big
So
thing with Ash Wednesday at the beginning of
yes,
Lent.
yeah,
I think that was the whole situation with that, the palm leaves and whatnot.
yeah.
Look at that! I don't even do Lent anymore, and I remember.
Um, but you are so right. Oh my gosh. I didn't realize that because then it's like Odysseus rising from the ashes.
Yeah, right, right. This is his comeback stories and being like, "We're back, baby. Take that, Poseidon."
It's like coming from the lowest of the low.
Yeah, from rock freaking bottom.
Oh my gosh. The Chitty Chitty Bang Bang song. Up from the ashes, up from the ashes, right, grow the roses of success.
Man, I do not miss the days of movies having an intermission. It's too much.
I kind of
It's
do.
too much.
Oh my gosh. I mean, that was definitely an unnecessary song in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but I still remember it.
Oh, Change Doing It's such a weird movie. Um, Also, because it doesn't matter, and I'm not going to actually go over it. There's like 2 pages full of just Odysseus recounting, or I guess the Homer recounting, just how luxurious this dude's palace is. Like you thought Menelaus had a fancy palace? It's nothing compared to this guy. This guy's
I
palace
mean,
is
what do you expect
lit,
for a fictional island?
right? With a country that has only known prosperity and not known conflict, which is
Mhm,
wild. Because they're too far out
mhm.
of the way and they're like the big ship boys and no one comes.
There is actually a point when Odysseus is telling the king how he came to meet his daughter and then like therefore like come here. And there's a line in my translation where it says it's after he says that he never gave consent for the 7 years detained.
Yeah.
Um then came the 8th year on the Wheel of Heaven.
Yeah.
And well, Wheel of Heaven is important imagery in Eastern tradition, like very Eastern tradition. Like Oh, I want to say Indus Valley, but like Buddhism especially is like the wheel with the spokes.
Yeah, eight's a
I
number.
remember this from art history. Wheel with spokes.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm talking about?
I
Let me look it
do.
up
It's
so I
been a
can actually
while. While you're looking that up, I do just want to make a point of the little funny bit. So like they take him in. They're like, we're being hospitable. Have a seat. Have some food. And then once they're like, they're kind of everyone else goes away to go to bed, and so it's just Odysseus, the king, and the queen, and then I think his kids are still there. Like his sons are still there, and so
Mhm.
they're just like chilling, and then already like just looks at Odysseus and is like, wait a minute. I know those clothes. I made those clothes. And then she's like, gets real suspicious. She's like, why do you have the clothes that my daughter did in the laundry today? Why you got those? And he's like honest. He's like, okay, full disclosure, I ran into your daughter. Cause she's super awesome and she helped me though. Super love that for her. She was super nice.
The Dharma wheel.
Yeah, Dharma.
Dharma wheel. Okay, granted, this is just the Google overview. In religious contexts, a wheel with spokes, most notably the Dharma wheel or Dharma chakra, significant symbol, particularly in Buddhism, representing the path to enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 8 spokes.
Yes, okay, we were right. Nice.
There's
Look at us
there's
go.
8 spokes. Noble 8 path.
Yes, the
So
Eightfold
I thought
Path.
because it
Oh,
talks about like 8 year,
yes.
then came the 8th year in
Yeah.
the wheel on the wheel of heaven. So it's like a completely different religious context, but also like super important
Yeah.
imagery. Like I thought that was really significant because we were talking a lot about the Eastern well, Christianity technically is an Eastern, like a Middle Eastern religion,
Technically,
but
yeah,
like
that's where it started.
has such Western context now.
Oh, it
But
does.
like,
Yeah.
so I thought it was really cool to have something that's much more Eastern, kind of
Yeah.
tied into this story, and it kind of shows how universal the
Yeah.
universality of the story.
Yeah. No, I think that's
Yeah.
a super cool connection. But
Mm-hmm.
then he's telling this whole story of like how he got there, and I like that he spends like a whole page detailing him being like after he like left Calypso's island, he's on his little makeshift raft, and then Poseidon shows up and goes, uh, "Psych, not today, bro." And like it's like a whole chunk of text, and I'm like one. You're a good storyteller, Odysseus. I'll give you that. This is very entertaining. But two, I just wrote Yapper McYapperson because it's like such a long-winded way
Dude,
of explaining what happened.
just I mean, this is his mo.
It
Like,
is. It's just like, dude, you
there's
just so
literally
wordy.
like there's like not just one, but like even after the section that we were supposed to read for this week, there's
Yeah.
like 2 more chapters of just Odysseus talking.
He's just so dramatic. He's like, and then I was dashed across the rocks, and then I had to hold on for dear life, and I didn't know if I'd make it. I'm like, you gotta calm down, dude. Like it's so dramatic. And then he's like, and then I met your daughter and then now I'm here. And then the king's like, "Oh, but that sucks that she wasn't hospitable enough to like take you here herself." And he's like, "Well, no. We had a whole thing going on. We both decided it would be embarrassing if she did that. So we decided to do it different. And I'm here now, so we're good."
Yeah.
And then the king's like, "Man, it would be so cool if you could marry my daughter." Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Nope, I'm married.
And we're like, that man's married. He might be hot, but he's married. Calm down.
Hey, they don't drug him.
They don't, which
So
is so cool of them to do. Not drugging him. That's bare minimum, but we're proud. And then they mention that your bay, I'm gonna pronounce this island or this area of the world wrong. Your boa, your bea.
where are you?
For me, it's line. like 368-ish. It's the king talking about how he's like, I'm gonna get you home no matter where it is. And he says, even if it's more distant than this place with an E, which is off the edge of the world. And
What?
wait a minute. Edge of the world.
Oh,
It's EUB.
it's not line. Yeah, it's not line 60 for me. It's like in the line 340s.
Okay,
For me.
yeah. But he
It
says
may
that.
be even far beyond Yaboya. Yaboya?
Right? I'm like, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Yaboya?
Right? And I'm like,
That's
that's the edge of the world to you? Because Ithaca is definitely beyond
Oh,
that.
it's a real island.
It's a real one. It's a real one, yes. I went to the map. Because I checked. I was like, is this a real place? This sounds real. And I saw it and went, yeah, that's just in the Aegean Sea, dude. Which, again, kind of goes to show how insular these people are. They think the Aegean Sea is the whole world, to an extent.
That's yes and no, because as we've seen, like Agamemnon's in Egypt, and it's not like they don't have.
Well, no, I'm
context.
talking about the people of Scheria.
Oh,
They, in particular,
Yeah.
are like so far away. And Odysseus is probably like,
I told you.
he's like, what?
Yeah, it's truly like this is Disneyland.
He's like,
This is the
right?
Disneyland of ancient.
Like, there's something in the water here.
They're happy.
They are
They're in their
happy.
happiness.
They are happy, and I can't fault them that.
No,
but they're so
no,
squishy. They refer to the women constantly as being white-armed, which is like literally just in reference to the fact that they are just white.
Well, I also think it means like given how sunny it is all the time, they don't have freckles or any sunspots.
Yeah.
Which also
Yeah.
So, cause like I'm pale.
Yeah. I'm
very white.
I'm
but,
very,
like,
very white.
I have freckles on my arms. So
I do too. A lot of
But
freckles.
I'm just not. I would definitely not meet the beauty standards of ancient Greece. I would probably be sold into slavery and forced to work in a kitchen.
I have nice hair that is vaguely red, and I think I could cut it. I think I'd be a.
You're also
I'm very white.
Yeah.
Very white.
I'm tall enough. I'm tall enough and slightly athletic enough, if I'm actually in shape, that I could pass off an Amazonian, and then no one would mess with me.
I'd probably just hang out at the island of Lesbos and just stay there. Seems like a chiller time to me. I think they'd be nicer to me.
But, also, I don't think they're totally insular. Oh, wait, no, never mind.
They're very insular.
No. No, but, like, they also mentioned the Don, because, like, when they're mentioning, like, other people's, it's like, they know of...
Yeah, they get stories.
Obviously, like, there's obviously trade. It's not like they're so completely...
And they do know of Odysseus and his stories. So, like, it is weird that they're like, this is the edge of the world. Maybe they just meant, like, our world. Like, the Greek world.
Well... Also consider, like, the sea is power.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, even in today's world, like, if you have control over a area of the ocean, you are a powerful country.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's why we're America, manifest destiny.
Yeah.
Is coast to coast. Is, like, that's kind of, like, part of where the power comes from.
Yeah.
I don't think we should go past that. But that is a personal opinion. But, you know, manifest destiny is probably going to come up somewhere.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh so much. I genuinely love the Americans, as even though I'm myself an American, because sometimes I'm just like, man, it is just a different mindset.
It's different. It's a different world, you know.
Mm-hmm. But because he also in back to ancient Greece, because Alcinous, when he's presenting the stranger, oh hey, this is our guest and a new friend who is still nameless to me.
We don't know him. We're just calling him the guy.
He comes to us after long wandering the Dawnlands or among the sunset races, which I like that phrasing so much
The
better.
sunset makes
Why
sense.
wasn't that language adopted and passed down 4,000
You know,
years?
let's just bring it back. Let's just start saying shit like that. Maybe it'll catch on, you know?
Yes, we hail from a land of clouds and gray.
Yep, that's us.
And of football.
Football.
You can when you introduce yourself and like say where you're from, you can say I hail from the lands who that contains the river of fire.
River fire, the clouding fogs, and also we have won many a battle in our sport. We are victors.
Have you?
I
Have
haven't
you?
personally, no, but as far as football goes, we've got a good
You have
number of
Browns in
victories.
Cleveland, Teresa.
Huh?
You have the Browns in Cleveland, Teresa.
Oh, I was just talking about Ohio in general, like Ohio State.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, no,
Well,
don't talk about the Cleveland Browns. Don't do that up
the
here.
Ohio State University is where I am.
Yeah, no, we
Actually, no.
technically
Okay,
have.
I'm not actually at the Ohio State University. It's just, Central Ohio area is
Yeah.
so strongly associated with the Ohio State University.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then they go to bed, and
Well, okay.
there's a
So
really important note.
I'm already after
Well,
that.
no,
I'm already.
There's a very important note I have to make about this. All right, because this is very interesting.
Okay.
The queen gets their stuff together to go to bed, and she puts them, get this, on the porch, and she throws down purple throws for bedding. Who does that remind you of, Maggie?
Not Agamemnon.
Huh?
Menelaus!
Yeah! The same thing happened to his son.
Oh my gosh, the parallel!
The parallels. Anyway, that was really important to me. I highlighted the crap out of that.
Yes.
Alright, we can move on to the day of songs and contests.
The parallels. There are a lot of parallels between Odysseus and his son.
A lot. Because he's...
It's kind of... Except,
cute.
His son hasn't had trauma yet.
Not yet. He'll get there, though. Don't you worry.
He'll have some character development.
He already has
him,
daddy issues, so he is well on his way.
Oh my gosh. Now, if only he were hot and 500 years old, he'd be the perfect romanticy character.
God damn. Maggie. Can't he be that at only 20?
Sure, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, because he's already a prince. Never mind.
He's already
years
there.
old.
Alright.
So when So when Alcinous says we're gonna get a ship for my friend here, he does mention specifically that is a black ship in my translation.
Oh, where does it mention the type of ship?
Yeah. I can't help but feel that's foreshadowy, significant. Because normally how ships are made in this era, you rub black pitch on the bottom of the hull anyways to make it waterproof.
Oh.
But if they said that all the time, they would just mention that all the ships were black ships.
Yeah, and these are ship people.
They don't. So I feel like it's significant that it's translated that it is a black ship.
It does say it's a black ship in my translation too. So this is definitely something worth noting. This is important. Everyone, it'll be on the test.
And then it's the self-inserts of all self-inserts.
Okay. This dude, this guy.
You think Odysseus is the man. Wait till you see Homer.
The self-insert from the author. Also, Athena got a new disguise. She's now a random herald of the king. Just important note.
I live in a house with a standard poodle who heralds my coming wherever I go.
That's important.
And I have to say, I think we should adopt this in real life. Just have we should have a herald hiring service.
I think that's just like a butler or like a hand.
No, a butler is different. This is specifically a herald.
I guess it's true. You just want someone to announce your presence.
Yeah.
I don't.
be known.
I don't, man. I want to be sneaky. I want to move in the shadows. I don't want anyone to look at me. That's too anxiety inducing for me. It's like I used to get so much stress at school during roll call. Like that's not okay for me. I'd panic. But yeah, they decide to have a quick feast that morning, and then they plan to send Odysseus off later, and so they bring in.
Also, I did want to point out the number 12 pops up so much.
It does.
It is significant. It is like a universal number that is of the cosmos and whatnot. 12 is important. So is 3, and so is 9.
Yep. But yeah,
you get why 9's important.
Yeah.
So like those are like the 3 most repeated numbers throughout the story.
And both 12 and 9 are divisible by 3.
Yeah.
So it's just all about threes. It's a rule of threes.
It is.
But yeah, so they get the Bard of Bards, Demodocus, to just come out and just be entertaining. And so,
okay. Yeah.
There's a line. There's a line at the end, or it's like the line 80, around line 87-ish for me, where they're like, "Hey, Demodocus, go ahead and do something cool." And so, it says, "All reached out for the good things that lay at hand, and when they'd put aside desire for food and drink, the muse inspired the bard," which is how the Iliad started.
I have, well, yeah, it's how all these epics start.
Yeah, because it's always about the bards being inspired by the muse, except for this one. Except for this one.
Yeah, wait, no, the very first sentence of the Odyssey is "Singed me, muse."
Oh yes, right. But this is the one weird occasion where they tell the muse to pick the start.
Oh.
Right.
So,
but yeah,
in my translation, I think it's really funny because in my translation it says, "The crier soon came, leading the man of song, whom the muse cherished. By her gift he knew the good of life and evil, for she who lent him sweetness made him blind."
Yes, he is a blind bard. So he's got a little peg above his chair where he can put his lyre. It's so cute. They're like, "Here you go, bud. See, they're disability accessible here."
Yeah, but also, it's pretty bold of him to be like, "Yo, I'm like the Bard of Bards."
Dude, wait though, it gets so much worse later. By worse, I mean better. Some of the lines in my translation are hilarious, and I was cracking up.
Later. How much farther later?
Where? It's after all the contests, after the games.
They do love track and field.
They do. But yeah, so then the Demodocus just happens to pick at random and happens to pick a story about Odysseus, which, like, what are the odds? And that makes Odysseus cry.
I found it because it says Harold.
Oh, you cut out. Maggie.
Hello?
Yes? There you are. All right. You cut out.
Harold, take this to Demodocus. Let him feast and be merry with my compliments. All men owe honor to the poets, honor and awe, for they are dearest to the muse,
who
my
puts
God. The ways of life.
No, wait, I have a better line. It's so funny.
Well, I thought that was interesting because this is how knowledge was passed on.
Yeah.
And they didn't necessarily have writing back then. This was written down in like the 700 BCs, but like the story took place much earlier.
Yeah, but I love this line because again, this is like after all that stuff, and this is Odysseus, who again, no one knows this is Odysseus yet, but he goes up to Demodocus and he goes, "I respect you, Demodocus, more than any man alive," and I'm like, "Shut up, you can't write that, Homer." And then again, this is more of a stab at Odysseus. But Odysseus sits and talks about how cool Odysseus is to Demodocus, and I'm like, these two men they get each other.
He asked Demodocus to play the song of Odysseus, like about Odysseus.
He's like, "Please sing me a song that's so cool about Odysseus," and then he just strokes his own ego.
Okay,
Ugh.
so if anyone complains about Mary Sue's, like,
Like,
I would point to the Odyssey.
like it's giving like I need to write a self-insert of myself into my own fanfic and then write about these characters I respect telling me they respect me.
Uh-huh.
It's so funny.
Uh-huh.
It's like me writing a fanfic about like Avatar and then like Uncle Iroh's like, I think you're a super good, awesome person. I'm like, thank you.
It is like that. It's like, it's totally, it's like,
It's so
I
cute
think this
though.
is the only Mary Sue that I've read that's like, I don't mind.
I'm like, go,
It's
get
over.
it.
He can do what he wants.
I just wrote in the comment or in the margins, this is just a self-insert fanfic at this point.
It's so
uh
good.
It's so funny. Like I had to like put my book down and I was just like laughing hysterically. I was like, this is
It
so
is really sad
extra.
though because like Odysseus still has a lot of PTSD, clearly. And
Yeah. So yeah,
every
after
time he
yeah.
sings,
So yeah, after that
he's
first song, he's crying.
yeah. Yeah. He just is like silently weeping into his clothing.
And the king
And then
clocks it
Alcinous
though.
and then but like Alcinous is like, wait, let's stop. Like, you're sad. We'll do because after the first time they're like, you know what? Let's liven things up a bit. Let's go to
Yeah.
track and field.
Yeah. I love
Let's go
that
do some competitions.
I love that he's just like he sees him crying next to him, like trying to hide it with his cloak. He's like, everyone quick, let's go outside. Like it's so cute that he's just like, I have to find a way to make this not sad. And then in
Oh
my
my god.
translation, it says that the king, and I quote, takes Demodocus by the hand and led him from the palace. And I just wrote, oh, they're holding hands. They're so cute. I bet Demodocus is like, I wish I could hold hands with the king. I bet he's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go on to introduce all the WWE fighters. Um,
Wait, where are you? I
I
got
I'm at the very beginning of like the track and field games.
yeah, but what line?
Around 1 line 30 when they start introducing all the weird names. Like
3:30?
yeah. Oh sorry, 1:30. My god, my brain.
1:30?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I went back. We skipped ahead a little bit to talk about Demodocus.
Oh yeah, we did.
I went back to the beginning of the competitions. So we've got
Yeah.
such cool people as
See, even
Racing the
with
Wind.
tabs, I somehow get lost in my own mind.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and then this is where it's like Sea Reach, Sparwood,
Right? Topsail, Riptide,
Grand Fleet,
Row Hard.
Shipwrights,
This sounds like a D&D fantasy name generator.
Shipwrightson, Running Wake, Bordelese, Blue Water. It's like basically think of every single name based off of ships and oceans.
Yeah, okay,
Birdman.
it's like a
Could you imagine walking around with a name like Tipmast?
I mean, no. That'd be sad. But it reminds me of like the D&D fantasy name generators where they're like Rock Moss,
Oh my gosh!
Sea Wind,
Do you remember Grayson Crackers?
Grayson Crackers, and good old
Who
Mason
then
Jar.
whose father, who because it was Grayson Crackers, his father then became Graham Crackers
He was Graham
randomly,
Crackers.
and then he needed an alias. Then Grayson Crackers needed an alias, so he went as Mason Jar.
Man, the things we do in D&D when you can't
That was,
think up NPC names.
that was actually a fun one.
That was great.
That was a fun session. That
I
was
got
like one of the
yeah.
funner sessions that I actually planned.
Nice.
And I'm just gonna pretend
Except
that
those
funner.
names, apparently, that you did not plan. It's okay. NPC names are never planned.
Oh?
Hey, oh, you there? Oh, did you cut out again?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Stupid internet. It's
Yeah.
supposed to be good.
So right,
It's not actually.
we're getting to the end of chapter 8, and Then
Well,
we'll do
okay.
chapter 9.
I'm surprised you skipped over this.
Right. Well, because we were just having a goof at
Yeah,
Demodocus
because
slash Homer's expense.
Sea Reach is a bit
Sea
hacky.
Reach.
So I think it's really interesting because later on in this section, in the next chapter actually, you see that Odysseus has, as I don't mean to stereotype redheads, but
Mm-hmm.
like the stereotype of a redhead
Oh,
is they get angry really
he is
easily.
hot-blooded.
And Odysseus perpetuates the maybe he started the stereotype, honestly.
He might have.
He might have started this
He
stereotype.
might have.
Like, you see the first picture of, like, the first little glimpse of, like, he gets provoked.
Well,
he gets provoked
so
and he gets taken down.
yeah, so what happens is like all these people are doing this track and field game. So they have running, they have wrestling, jumping, discus,
I don't think we
boxing.
need to recap. Okay, I don't
No,
think we need
but
to recap
I just want to make a
everything.
point that he was not participating in the games yet. Other people were winning these games, and then one of the winners, who happened to be the king's son,
Yes.
Laodamas.
Well, not really. Is Sea Reach the king's son?
No, it's Laodamas. And
No, but Sea Reach is the one who. Okay, so Laodamas is there, but like Laodamas is not.
I don't have.
He's not rude. Sea Reach is the one who's rude.
I have it as Laodamas in my translation. So Sea Reach might be Laodamas? Because Broadsea does say something.
Laodamas is a different person. Because Laodamas is like, you're no cripple. Why don't you come compete with us? Essentially.
Yeah.
But then Odysseus like kind of puts him off a little bit. And then Sea Reach says Sea Reach puts his word in and contemptuously.
Okay, weirdly enough, so I have in mind that Laodamas starts with the taunting, and then someone called Broadsea, like, agrees, but then Laodamas continues to egg Odysseus on, and then eventually Odysseus confronts Laodamas.
He doesn't do that in mine.
Oh, because
it's a completely different person.
Really? Because in my translation it says Laodamas, and then it's Odysseus who is responding, so Odysseus himself says Laodamas.
Yeah. He responds to Laodamas. Initially, it was Laodamas who kind of is like, why don't you come compete with us? And then Odysseus respectfully declines. And then Sea Reach is the one who puts his word in, who's contemptuous.
Oh, I see that now. Because then he comes in, he continues the mocking straight to his face. He's like, you're not an athlete. You're not good at these games. And I just wrote, rip.
But then so Odysseus comes back and he goes, that was uncalled for. You talk like a fool. The gods deal out no gift, this one or any, birth, brains, or speech to every man alike.
He quite literally said, hold my beer, and then he picked the head.
It wasn't just hold my beer. It's like, clearly you do not have much going on there in the brains department.
You are stupid, and you have never seen a day of war in your life. Sit down.
It's more like, you may look pretty, but you're not smart.
Yeah.
It's like that trade-off.
You're a himbo.
The trade-off is like, you're just a pretty boy.
Yeah. And then he picks up the heaviest discus, which no one had been using, because they were just having some, they're just like, they only pick it up when they're, like, really trying to prove a point, and he yeets it further than anybody. And then...
But he doesn't beat the host, because who quarrels with his host?
No, that would be super rude. But he does... But
okay, so I also had a note. So, they all go straight to track and field after just gorging themselves on a feast.
Which is...
And that actually made my stomach turn a little. Because I have to wait at least 2 hours after I eat food to go run. Otherwise, I feel like...
I can't drink a lot. Like, I can have sips and whatnot, but, like, I can't have, like, a bunch of liquid before I do yoga. Otherwise, like...
Right?
Right.
Oh, or like heavy foods. Like
Oh,
if I eat
yeah.
eggs before I run, I feel
Yeah,
awful.
I have
Like
to have a
anything that's
break.
super oily.
Um, but after he throws that discus, Athena takes on the form of just one of the random participants and is like, "Whoa, that was so far! He's so cool! Oh my god!" I'm like, "Damn, Athena, you're a hype man for sure." That was super cool. And then he goes on to like talk about how cool he is. He says, this line, he's talking about all the other cool people in the world, and he's like, and of the rest, I'd say that I outclass them all. Men still alive who eat their bread on earth. And I'm like, dude, okay, like,
Where are
you
you?
are cool. 250-ish. So this is after he
I
threw
keep
it. And this is him
okay.
slapping back.
I keep thinking we're moving on, and then we're
Uh,
not.
Sorry, I have notes. Alright, we can move past this. So they do all that cool stuff, and then
But there were
essentially.
9 referees.
Wait, real quick.
That's what I had That's what I had highlighted there. There
Yeah,
were 9 referees, masters of
yes.
ceremony.
But like after he pretty much gives the smackdown of a century, the king's like, okay, let's dial it back. You're making us all look bad. We're super cool with ships and dancing though. Like we get it. You're cool at this big boy strong stuff.
Okay, can I just say, like, every island, it just feels like, you know how, like, every state has their thing?
Yeah,
It feels like that, but for ancient Greek
yeah,
islands.
yeah,
'Cause it's like, hey, we may not be known for our athletes, but we're known for our song and dance.
yeah. Come on, dude. Bet you can't do that. And he's like, yeah, fair enough. And so they go back in, and then they do more, Demodocus stuff. Um,
And then Odysseus is like,
yeah.
hey, what about singing a song
Okay,
about me?
wait. Before that, though, he does do the story of Ares and Aphrodite, and I want to give the very quick Spark Notes version of this, because
Dude, we did Sparks noticing this entire
I
thing.
know, but let me give the super Spark Note, like the YouTube short version. So essentially, Hephaestus and Aphrodite were married, and that
I
was
don't
like,
understand.
I think it's a funny story. All right, let me have this.
Well, they clearly think it's a funny story too.
I know, that's why I'm telling it again. So they're married, and that was like the cool, sanctioned, legit marriage that Hera said, yes, this is the marriage. Hephaestus is Hera's crippled son, who she kind of technically abandoned, but then later was like, whatever. Um, and so they're married, but Aphrodite doesn't like him. So she's having an affair with Ares, which they have in Hephaestus's mansion in his bed, which is so not cool. And so he finds out because the old Titan Helios was like watching. He
It
saw
actually
it.
makes sense. It actually kind of makes sense that, like, Paris, the one character we despised throughout the entire Iliad, chose Aphrodite.
Right. Spineless, creepy little weirdos. And so Helios tells
Okay, so
Hephaestus, and
he
he's
finds
like,
out, he cooks up a plan.
I'm getting to
Like, come
it.
on!
All right, I was trying to. So he finds out. He says, "I have a plan. I'm gonna make this net of metal because he's a foraging guy." And so he sets up a trap in the bed, and then he pretends to go out on a shopping trip, and then he waits for Ares and Aphrodite to have their little rendezvous in his bed. They get caught, and since it's super magical, they can't get out. So then he says, "Haha, I got you." And more on that, I'm gonna get everyone else to see this. So he gets like all the gods and goddesses is like, ha ha ha, point and laugh. And he
Oh yeah,
says,
and it's like,
yeah, I
don't
love
do
it.
adultery.
Yeah, I'm right. I'm like,
Well, I
shame.
also feel like it's, like, kind of pointed of, like, you know, the Odysseus, like, the prime
Yeah,
example of he
yeah,
doesn't cheat on his wife.
yeah, ha ha ha. The only part of this that I thought was really entertaining, but important, I thought worth noting, was that Poseidon was standing up for Ares and was like, okay, come on, my guy, let him go. And then Hephaestus was like, nah, because if I just let him go, then he's not going to pay me back my debts, right? He's not. And then Poseidon's like, well, then I'll co-sign this loan. And then Hephaestus is like, oh, okay, fair. I guess if you're going to pony up the money, fine. And that's the story. I just thought it was funny, and everyone else at the party thought it was funny because they laughed too.
It is interesting because in Beowulf, which takes place thousands of years, I forget. I don't know how many thousands of years. It's like not modern. Beowulf is not modern, but it is like much later than the Odyssey. But it continues that line of storytelling
Mm-hmm.
of like when they're in the hall after I'm the scene I'm particularly thinking of is like after Beowulf defeats Grendel, which Beowulf very similar to Odysseus, except he's not married and is celibate,
Yeah.
functionally celibate throughout the entire poem.
Yeah.
Um, was he in real life? Who knows?
I
Um,
never know.
but it was oh gosh, what were the? I have to reread Beowulf. It's been a hot minute since I've reread it. But they kind of tell a cautionary tale of like a failed venture. So it's like even though they're celebrating this good thing, it's kind of remembering the wrongs of the past so as not to repeat them in the future. And that or kind of like that foreshadowing component as well. So it's a very common storytelling technique. And
Mm-hmm.
Beowulf is also a very linear story. Like talk about linear storytelling. It's pretty
Yeah.
linear. So, like even in linear stories, that's like a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway,
So
onwards.
yeah. So after
And
that
then
story,
Falcon finally asks Odysseus' name, and I don't know if this book ends for you the way it ends for me, but like it ends with a question that Odysseus answers in the next book.
okay, yes, and we will get to that in a second. I just want to note that they did this really neat two-person ball dance where they're just like tossing a ball back at each other. Like it seemed kind of neat. I kind of want to know what that was about.
I didn't know
Uh,
that.
yeah, there was this like right after the Hephaestus story, Helios and Laodamas did this pair dance where they just had this really shiny blue ball and they were just doing this dance but like also throwing this ball back and forth and it just sounded very mesmerizing to me.
Where are you?
That's back in 420. You're moving way too fast. Then we have all of the
You're not moving fast enough.
okay, but these are important points I'm making. All right, so the Super Bowl thing, and then Broadseed
No
apologizes.
Wait,
Broadseed.
I have no idea what you're talking
I'm
about.
still back in book 8.
I know, but I'm at line 420 and I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
so the story
No
of
dance.
Hephaestus ends,
Yes.
and then it says next the king asked Helios and Laodamas to dance.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, all right, and then after that, Broadseed apologizes. He's like, "Bro, I'm so sorry. I said that stuff." And just he's like, "No, we cool, bro. You gave me a sword, so we're okay." And then then he had a really nice bath.
They treat Odysseus so well, and
So
they don't
well.
even know who he is.
He got a 5-star service. 5 freaking star. And then, okay, this is important. This has to be important. It says when he got his gifts, all right, he was told to give it a good seal, a good tie, bind it fast. And so he tied an intricate knot that Lady Circe taught him long ago. That's gotta come up later. That's gotta come up later.
Okay. Okay.
That's important. I had to know that.
Move on to the next book. We don't need to recap every single event in every book.
Okay, I know. I have stuff I want to say.
You have stuff you want to say.
No.
That's why we're talking.
Okay, yes, then he gets his name, and they're like, oh my god, who are you? And he's like, well, let me tell you, I'm Odysseus.
And then cliffhanger. Until the next episode, we will find out who this random stranger is.
Oh no, see, mine didn't end that way.
What?
Okay, so for me, he says, like, who are you? He says, tell me your name. I don't know it, but tell it to me, you know? And then he, like, goes on a little bit of a tirade. And then...
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Where does he say his name?
He only says his name in book 9.
I guess he does. Yeah, you're right. So he ends it with like a series of questions. The king. He's like, tell me who you are, where you come from, what happened, blah blah blah. And I'm like, bro, it just opened the whole can of worms. Like he's about to get
Well,
answers he
I
didn't
thought
know
it
he
was
was
really
asking for.
well, Homer plays a lot. I think it's really cool that
Yeah.
it's because you also get this in other stories as well. With like, oh gosh, what was I reading? I want to say Anna Karenina, but that might not have been Tolstoy. That might have been my own. Um, that like might have been my own like knowledge of Anna Karenina
Mhm.
that like influenced the way I read it.
Mm.
Because I knew about the book and I knew how it ended just from pop culture references. So, but
Yeah.
like it really did feel like the lead up is like there's a lot of stuff where like there's another book. I swear it was a different book. This is a problem with reading too many books.
Yeah, I lose a lot of them too in my head. I'm like, that's in there somewhere.
But I want to say it's Anna Karenina. But it plays a lot on what the knowledge of the reader versus the knowledge of the audience.
Yes, which is dramatic irony. But yeah, so yeah, he does end off being like, "Who is you?" And Odysseus starts book 9 with being like, "Oh, you want a story? I've got a story for you."
Oh, yeah.
And then he straight up was like, "Ah, it's me." He gives kind of the like Avengers like I am Iron Man that Tony Stark does. Like he's full like
I
just
am there,
with his
son.
whole chest. He's like, "I'm Odysseus."
Let us be formidable for guile and peace and war.
Yep.
This fame has gone abroad into the sky's rim. I love his whole like intro of himself.
He's so
Honestly,
dramatic, and I do love that. I do get it.
I
And he
think
talks
I'm
about
gonna
how
borrow from this. I'm
yeah,
just gonna start introducing myself as Maggie, daughter of Elizabeth. My home is the flat, gray lands of Ohio,
the land
where
of flaming water.
land of mediocrity,
Yeah, we're something.
forger of strong wills.
We make presidents and astronauts. That's it. And tires, I think.
And,
Um,
whoa, whoa, whoa! You're
what?
in Cleveland. How can you say that?
What tires?
Cleveland's like
Yeah,
the
I
where all
know.
the steel mills are.
We're all the what?
The steel mills.
Oh, right, we
That's
do.
why
We
it's
do
so
have a lot of
important.
steel mill. Totally forgot. Look,
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
why the
actually
company's
go
so
into Cleveland.
started up.
I have better things to do than to drive up to Cleveland.
And
Um,
Massillon, Ohio, was also that, and then it's the connection of the Erie Canal, and so that's why like Massillon, Ohio, was really important. There's a lot of towns in Ohio that
yeah,
like used to be important, but then
yeah,
when the industry moved, they just kind of like dead
yeah.
towns.
We have the Goodyear tires, which we also have the Stan Hyatt. Um, and we have the Dayton Air Force Museum, which is one of the most haunted places in all of America.
Okay.
Yeah,
I went to one of the most haunted universities in America.
nice. Anyway,
Even
so Odysseus talks
speaking
about
of haunted people, let's talk about
he's
Odysseus.
haunted. Speaking of being haunted, he talks about how all these goddesses tried to seduce him, and he was like, I have a wife and a lover. And I was like, that's right, you do, and you're
What?
so cool for that.
What?
He just mentions, he says, yeah, Calypso tried to hold me back, but I said nah, and so did Circe, and I said nah, um, but they never won my heart inside me, never, because he loves his wife.
Yeah, that's just two goddesses.
The two, arguably very good at seducing, they're known for
Yeah.
that. I just think it's funny that he mentioned
Oh
this.
my gosh. I was actually rewatching like one of the old Justice League video shows. I think it was like Justice League Unlimited. And like Cersei pops up because Diana is in a whole
Yeah.
Hathaway. And she goes, "Careful, she's an enchantress." And Batman goes, "I know, I've read the Odyssey."
Oh, I know what to do. Just say
And
no. It's
Batman,
really easy.
"I'm Batman."
Anyway, so then he talks about how everything happened. So he left Troy, and then he decides, which I think is so stupid, that on his way back, he's like, "Well, I didn't have enough war. Let's pillage and plunder this random island."
Actually, I didn't think that was stupid.
I did. I'm like, come on, you are full of riches right now. You've already pillaged and
Well,
plundered Troy. Why?
well, you got it.
I didn't get
I
it.
don't know. Well, okay, so it was presumably a little bit after sailing from Troy that he arrives at
Uh,
Ismaros.
I have Cicones is how it is in my book.
Oh, off the coast of the Caconis.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Okay, so okay. So first of all, he gets blown off course by Zeus.
yeah, because of the whole not properly
To
sacrificing to him, which silly,
yeah,
silly man.
Elias got that too, but
Yeah,
it turned out for him. Odysseus not so much.
yeah,
So presumably, it's been a while since they've touched land. Now, when you're low on provisions and have like 600 men with you, which eat a lot of food,
yeah.
you gotta go get some resources. And oftentimes, places can't really provide that much that readily. So it is far more effective, practically, to just
Practically,
go,
I get it. I get it.
so, like, they're already far off the course.
It
They're
just
probably, like, getting a little low on provisions. So, like, was it a dick move? Yes. Was it a practical one? Also, yes. I mean, think like Vikings. Like, winter
yeah.
season was, like, Viking raiding season because
No, I
they
got it.
nothing to do. But also, like, people need provisions.
Yeah.
And if they don't have those provisions and can't get those provisions, they're gonna go take those provisions.
Yes, which
It's a
they
very
did.
well savage kind of like
Yeah.
I didn't
Kidnapping
really have
women, you
I
know.
didn't have the same reaction to you. I actually put when he starts retelling the story of what happened since Troy. I'm like, oh, finally.
Oh, finally. We're only 200
Oh,
pages
well,
in. We're finally getting the story.
it's the Iliad too.
Yeah.
Homer like waits until half the book.
To really start telling his story. Yeah. and
It's
yeah. It just I think part of it that kind of bums me out a little bit is the fact that they plundered and pillaged this island
yeah,
of people.
yeah,
They from what it sounds like took the women as they do typically as
yeah.
plunder.
Well,
And we
women are
both know
property free.
exactly what happens to all the people who end up on those ships. It just kind of sucks. It was all for nothing, really.
Yeah. Well,
Kind of a bummer.
that's okay. That's okay. As we
Kind of
know
a
from
bummer.
ancient Greece, unless you're a queen, you are property.
Yeah, no, it just kind of sucks that like one day they're just like, I'm just gonna weave, and then the next thing you know, you're at the bottom of the ocean. It's kind of a
I
bummer.
need that on a shirt.
What about women
I need
weaving?
that. I need that like on a t-shirt. One day it's weaving, the next you're on the bottom of the ocean.
And then the
Say la
back of the
vie.
shirt just says, "Read the Odyssey." So, okay, side note, me and my sister years ago had this joke that we wanted to start a line of t-shirts with funny literary notes on the front and then whatever book it's about on the back. And we had one for the picture of Dorian Gray, and the front would just say, "Take a picture, it lasts longer," and then the back would just be like, "Read Dorian Gray." I think that'd be so much fun. Just have like a line of
That's
shirts that.
actually, I think that's a great
Yeah,
copyright trademark.
that's our idea. Anyway,
Can't steal it. Actually, probably someone's already
yeah,
thought of it.
probably. So then they leave. They do leave. They do lose a couple of men in the scuffle. But then they're back on the sea, big storm, and they eventually end up on the island of the Lotus Eaters, um, Which is a very quick
Yeah.
little snippet where they're just like, yeah.
Hey, so for how much we focus on like the Lotus Casino and Percy Jackson,
Oh, I forgot about that. It's been
I
so long.
expected the Lotus Eaters to be far more sinister than just druggies.
They're quite literally just like a bunch of stoners. Like he keeps sending people to like investigate so that they can get like supplies and then come back. And every time he sends them, they're just like, wait a minute, I kind of like it here, because whatever this is, this lotus they're eating, just makes them forget. So it says, all memories of the journey home dissolved forever, and it just makes them want to stay there. Which I mean, sounds
I
cool,
mean,
but
that is kind of sinister.
it's not like on
Okay.
purpose. I don't think it's intentional. I think just because these people are already stuck in that cycle, when more people come, they're not persuaded to make them leave because they too want to stay. And so it takes Odysseus being like, okay, guys, I'm going to force you back kicking and screaming, which he does, to the ship. And then they decide to sail a little bit further and they end up reaching the island of the Cyclops, who are by nature kind of antisocial. They just,
Yeah.
he calls them
Well,
lawless
okay.
brutes.
So I do think this is interesting. Is that so the Cyclops are continuously um described as brutal and savage.
Yeah,
But like
lawless and bad.
they're described as brutal and savage, but Homer continuously emphasizes that it's like they live alone. They have no community. They don't tend to the land. They just let it run wild. They don't take care of it. They don't
They don't have means of travel.
well, they don't pay proper like uh
Stewardship. They don't have
yes.
stewardship of their
They
land,
don't have
really.
they don't have stewardship, they don't have community, and they don't have interaction. So like these main things are why is like is
Yeah.
what makes them brutal and savage. It's not inherently what they look like that makes them brutal and savage.
Yeah.
And I thought that was an interesting point to emphasize so
Yeah.
much is that when we are secluded and when we aren't set away, we have a tendency to be not cannibals. I wouldn't go that, but we have a tendency to dissociate and become more savage people.
Yeah, we don't have the same emphasis on
And,
social connection and community.
and we have
And
the same empathy that we have
yeah,
when we have community when we share in a community with other
yeah. And
people.
there's, I think, also a really important note I want to make about the distinction between Scaria and the Island of the Cyclops, because they both seem to be rather insular communities, where they kind of do keep to themselves a little bit, but there's a very distinct difference between the way the people of Scaria, the Phoenicians, are, and the Cyclops, because the Cyclops, as we'll come to see, do not have this sense of hospitality that the Greeks are used to.
Well,
And
and also the people of Scaria have a king. They're like
yeah, they're
together all the time.
governed, they have community, they have
All that.
arts, they have
Hey,
something.
can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So the island of Cyclops is not on the map because oh my gosh, is it
I don't know,
another
man.
fake?
It might be fake.
Okay. So, in my copy at least, they rode to this island where all the sheep are.
Yay.
And they like well, okay, I guess there's some sheep on this island for some reason. And then like Odysseus takes a group of men to row to Cyclops Island.
What it seemed like to me, like there was a big part, like part of the island was sort of like just sheep, or maybe it was like a smaller island off the coast of the Cyclops Island,
Yeah.
where they like went and they got a bunch of sheep, and then they saw that there were more sheep at the Cyclops encampment, and said, "Let's get
Yeah.
more." And I said, "Come on, guys, come on."
600 men, Theresa, they eat.
I don't know, man. It just seems like their hubris is really
Don't
getting
even
into them.
even I realize they eat is a colloquialism of the modern day that I don't use.
Oh,
I don't
I wasn't even
that way.
thinking
I
about
mean
that.
literally to feed themselves.
I wasn't even thinking about that, but that's funny. They totally ate, but not in a good way. They ate, but not in a good way.
No, they did not.
So yeah, they had, so again, we're talking about the numbers 12 and 9. They have a dozen ships, and then each ship got 9 goats, except for the main ship, Odysseus's, which got 10. I
Yeah.
highlighted that. That
Uh-huh.
seems important to me.
Uh-huh.
And so they find this little, like, even among rather antisocial creatures, this particular Cyclops, Polyphemus, was like a big loner. So he was alone on his little
Okay,
corner.
can I just say,
Yeah.
this whole section was so much more graphic than I thought it was
Oh
going to
my
be.
god, yeah. I have so many notes where I'm like, this is a little metal. This
It's
guy,
not just metal.
kind of
It's
gross.
like it's pretty grim.
It
Like
was,
I actually this is like a little maybe because it is like
I mean, it's an
eating.
epic.
Well, okay, maybe because it is like eating people, and that just puts a sour taste. It just ugh,
Oh, you want to
ugh.
talk about
Uh,
having an issue with cannibalism?
I
That is one
know.
of
I
my
have a lot.
big, well, what's one of my big, uh, like the Donner Party, Soylent
Oh
Green.
my God! Stop!
No, 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 I
No,
get you, I get
I don't
you.
want to get into that. That's different.
Okay, okay,
That's
let's
different.
talk about something
That
not
was
that.
based on okay, so that was based purely on survival, but
Yeah,
there's other like there's other peoples that like actually
yeah.
partake in like this is part of their culture, and I don't mean to like diss anyone, but I can't.
I don't know, man. I'm super not into the idea of eating other people. That's not cool.
No, but
Anyway,
like maybe
um,
because of I actually think like the graphics were worse than the number of people that were killed in the Iliad.
oh yeah, no, Homer decided to get a little graphic with his depictions. But in Polyphemus's defense, they did steal his cheese. That's pretty messed
I
up.
think
They did.
well,
They
you
took
should have
his cheese.
offered them.
Okay, they should have spoken to the man first, not break into his home and take his cheese.
How can they break into his own home? It was a cave. You just walk in.
Oh, that's his home.
You just walk in. It's a cave. To be, I've okay.
Okay,
Have you been to a cave before,
I
Theresa?
have. And if you walked into a cave and it seemed like someone was living there, would you just take their shit? Maggie?
Our cave. Maybe they
Maggie.
didn't see that anyone was living.
Well, no, because they clocked that guy because he was out tending to his herd, and they snuck in while he was out doing stuff and said we could take his cheese, and then they did, and I was like, that's so rude. That's his
Yeah,
cheese.
but then
Look,
but then he also creates a lot of.
oh,
He also does stuff wrong.
yeah.
There was wrong on both parties.
Oh,
There was wrong on both.
absolutely, absolutely. I think it's kind of crazy to break into someone's home, steal a bunch of their stuff, and then go,
Okay,
whoa, whoa.
it's not ranking and entering so much as just entering.
Okay, they entered his home without permission and took the things that belonged to him and expect him to go,
Well,
no, 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 of course, take my stuff.
I mean, that's what Telemachus did.
That does not make it okay. Does not make any of this okay.
Telemachus didn't eat the suitors.
No, he didn't.
He, Telemachus didn't engage in cannibalism.
No, he
He
didn't.
provided the best and the best for his guests, even though he didn't want to.
Yeah. Also, I will point out, I mean, I know the book itself refers to it as cannibalism. I, for some reason, draw a little bit of a line because the Cyclops are a somewhat different race of being. I'm not about to fight that this is okay at all. I think you should not be
Okay.
eating people. 100% do not eat
According
people.
to like, it depends on like what species concept you're talking about. like morphological species concept, they look two completely different creatures. So yeah, you can kind of draw that line. Biological species concept, can they reproduce, and then can their offspring reproduce? That's still a yes. So the line's pretty blurry.
I do have okay, I'm not about to say you're wrong because I don't know, but have human mortals within myth procreated with Cyclops? Because Cyclops are born entirely asexual, well, not entirely asexually, but they were created by Poseidon. He just said, "Boop, you're here now," and then they started to procreate from there.
A lot of people were created that way.
Yeah, but humankind had some sort of a different sort of. I mean, they had a very similar Adam and Eve sort of, like Zeus made clay and then breathed life into it, and then boom, we had humans. And then they went off to continue populating the earth. Poseidon made Cyclops from like sea foam, along with horses. Horses and Cyclops are like half siblings. Don't ask. I don't know. I don't question this stuff anymore.
So, it's not giving me a straight answer. Like, there isn't, like, the one thing that is,
well,
like...
I think it's because Cyclops are typically depicted as monsters within Greek mythology and not as being people. Which is kind of messed up.
Okay, well... The top one commenter on Reddit, which is for sure...
Oh, that is a scholarly source if ever I've seen one.
I'm totally joking. I'm not going to say that.
Oh,
but
good.
Because of all the, like, genetics shenanigans that happens with, like, the demigods, some are immortal, some are not immortal, you know, like, it's so fluid.
Oh, it definitely is.
That, like, I feel like that line is so almost completely blurred.
No, I do. So, I agree, and I think that's why
it's called cannibalism.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's very weird that they kind of dance this line of being like, well, they like have families of some kind, and they raise sheep, and they're lawless, savage people. But also they should still hold the same hospitality customs and treat the rest of us like normal people. Like, it's sort of weird the way Odysseus approaches the Cyclops as being both...
Because they were created by the gods. And so Odysseus has a line is, we would entreat you, sir, to have a care for the gods' courtesy. Zeus will offend the undefending guest. So it's not so much that I would push back a little bit because, I mean, fair, but like, from our point of view.
Yeah.
But from their point of view, they are a creation of the gods. They worship the same gods.
Yeah, well...
And this is that has been set by the gods. So this is what you should expect since we all worship the same religion, the same pantheon.
Yeah, and that's sort of the expectation that Odysseus has.
Yeah.
But we also get the Cyclops quite openly goes, I don't give a crap what Zeus has to say. I don't believe in Zeus.
Which was the unexpected twist.
Yeah, but he went, oh, you weren't...
This twist. Can you imagine being in that audience and having a character say that, and they're like, oh no, they didn't.
I just think it's funny that Odysseus is like, oh, I'm just a little guy. You're supposed to give me stuff. That's what everyone else does. And then Cyclops says no. He goes, oh, how dare you? How dare you not let me take your cheese and all of your sheep? I am a guest.
Well, like, as we've said before, we've already established that there is precedence.
Yes, it's the typical custom thing to do. And so this is a culture shock for him.
This pantheon has set the rules and customs that you follow.
Yeah.
But them being lawless savage brutes do not follow this.
Except Poseidon, apparently. So he traps them in his little sheepy pen. After he eats some of them. He eats some of them.
He keeps them like livestock.
He does.
Which is so messed up.
Yeah. And I will say, Odysseus is very clever because he's like, oh, where's your ship at? with all the rest of you?" And he goes, "There are no rest of me. It's just me and my tiny little group. We were shipwrecked," which is good because that kept him from going to find the rest of the crew and eating them as well. But then he keeps them as livestock with his sheepies. And Odysseus says, "Well, that's not cool. I'm going to come up with an idea," which he takes the Cyclops
Well,
club and sharpens it into a giant spear.
well, no, what?
Yeah, he does the spear. He makes the
Okay,
spear.
so he does make a spear, but it's from an olive tree.
Oh, really? For me, it's the
So it is
Cyclops'
the
giant
club.
club.
Yeah, but it's specifically from
Yeah,
like
it's olive
an olive.
wood. Yes, which is like,
Yeah,
because that's Greece and olives.
yeah.
Athena
Well, it's the olive tree
is the
reoccurring throughout
olive.
the story,
They
and
just
it's Athena that's the salvation of Odysseus.
yeah. So
So
yeah, so they
olive.
take the olive tree club and they turn it into a giant spear, and then they were like, "Well, we can't just
After
wait
that,
for him to fall asleep. So how about this?" They take the wine, which they mentioned
they
earlier in a
drug it.
sign bit. They drug him with the lotus.
Which, okay, to your point,
Yeah.
like, yes, maybe they shouldn't expect him to give them anything, but he certainly expected them to give him
It
things.
was an
Like, once they offered him the
yes.
wine, he asked for more. And not only did he ask for more, but he's like, okay, I'll save you for last.
Yes, which is an absolute baller line. Also, this whole chapter is the song Polyphemus from the Epic Musical Concept album. Uh, Very good job with that particular song.
Okay, now it's
It's
my
one of
turn to
my
talk about it.
favorites. It's one of my favorite songs from the album. Um,
But and then well, this is where we get into the very famous scene where Odysseus says his name is
yeah, is
Nobody. But then when
nobody.
the Cyclops are like,
Oh
"What's
no.
wrong?" And he stabbed me in the eye.
Yeah.
But
Ugh.
Nobody is also Nemo. Nemo
Nemo,
means
yes.
like Captain Nemo in 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea is like I don't want to say an Odysseus-like character.
He's got a lot of similar
He is an Odysseus-like
qualities.
character, though.
He
He's like
is.
he's kind of trapped in the tragedy era.
He is. He's in
This is
Odysseus' tragedy
he's
era
like trapped
forever.
in Odysseus' tragic era.
He's stuck in his like I want nothing but revenge era.
Yes. But it's not necessarily revenge. It's similar to the Cyclops where he wants to be apart from society.
Yes. Yes. Very
Which
relatable.
makes so much sense.
Yes, it does. It does.
Especially in the context of that story. I just appreciate Jules Verne and
Jules
his
Verne. What a guy.
Jules Verne.
Um
That man.
so they drug him and then he goes as he's giving him the wine, he's like, "Yeah, I'm nobody." Isn't that a funny name?
Okay, we've already
Uh
covered this. We can move on.
yeah.
So so they're still not out. Because Odysseus recognizes that only the Cyclops can move the great stone door
Yes.
to the
So
cave. So
yeah.
he tricks they hide under the sheep and that whole thing. And then okay, so why did I tab this? Where
I
am
don't
I?
know.
Okay. Oh, line 550. I'm around line 550.
Okay.
Okay. So so I'm after they've escaped.
Oh, okay. So before they escape, because I do want to explain how they escape, because I do think it's rather
Why do we need to
interesting.
explain how they escaped? People can read how they escaped.
Well, I think it's interesting that they did like lines of rows of three.
Yes, they did
I
do
just want to
Rosa.
mention that, so that rows of three, and then they were under the sheep in the middle row.
Well, except for Odysseus, who hid under the ram.
Who's at the rainbow the very back, which I think is a cool move for a leader to be like, "I'll take up the back, the rear. I'll be the last one to leave."
And and the reason why they did three sheep is they wanted to make sure that if, like, the
They had a
giant
buffer. Yeah,
grabs them,
they wanted
they
a
had
buffer.
cover. Yeah. And so Odysseus being the last and only in one sheep, he poses the more serious threat.
Yes. Which
The true leader.
Polyphemus just starts to talk to the old sheep, which is, I will say, is kind of sad. He's just like, oh, I'm sad and blind and my eye
Okay,
hurts.
so
We're
what
both
does it
old.
mean? Okay, I don't mean any offense to sheep because I love sheep. I don't eat lamb or sheep. But like,
Yeah, same.
we treat sheep, which are herd animals,
Yeah.
better than people.
Yeah. Alright.
Like, I just think that's not fair.
Yeah.
I think that's supposed to, like, okay, yes. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, that one trend where it's like, this guy is horrible, but like, he's like the perfect, but
Oh, he's a
the
10, but...
Yeah. It's kind of like Odysseus. It's like, he does all this horrible stuff, but he loves his wife.
Yeah.
Oh, he's okay with that. It kind of reminds me, it's like that. It's like, but except it doesn't work in Polyphemus' case because we still hate him.
We do. He's still creepy.
So after they leave, this is where Odysseus is like, this is his true
This
flaw.
is his fumble. His fumble.
This is the Okay, so this is his major flaw. He is quick to anger.
His hubris. He had a little bit of a hubris high.
And he does have red hair, so maybe, I think we do get angry redheads from Odysseus.
Well, that's the thing though, is like most of the time he's got a level head because he's clever, but every once in a while he'll have these like outbursts where you're like, dude, chill, it's not that deep.
Well, like, here's the thing, and I see what my brother was saying now. He's like, okay, a lot of this he brought on himself.
He really did. He did.
You don't want it to. You don't want it to for all the people that he leads.
Yeah.
That is being end poorly because he knows, which I think that's actually a cool storytelling technique, is like you have only, because the reader knows that only Odysseus survived the story to tell the tale.
Yeah.
So now you have like this tension with the reader. It's that whole. It's redoing what the knowledge of the reader of the reader versus the knowledge of the character.
And I think that's why the non-linear storytelling of Odysseus or of the Odyssey works, is because it gives the reader added knowledge before, so that you have that context going into this new part of the story where you're like, oh no, I know how this is gonna end.
Exactly. I actually prefer the non-linear pattern for
I do too. I really enjoy non-linear storytelling in general. I thought it was interesting that most of the non-linear storytelling I had seen in literature happened to be in old literature.
Well, and Lord of the Rings.
But also, and I think the reason why that's so interesting to me is because we're starting to enter this era of cinema where we are starting to re-employ that tactic of storytelling, and it's coming off to a lot of people as being very novel and original. And I'm like, it's not, though. It's not novel and original. But it is fun that it's coming back in a fashion.
I have stopped following cinema, honestly. I just got so tired of it.
I
don't think I've seen a new release. Well, okay, so the last movie I saw in theaters, I think, was Barbie. But like before Barbie.
Yeah.
The last two movies I saw in theaters was The Boy and the Heron with my friends, and Barbie. And then before that, the last movie I saw in theaters was The Force Awakens, from like when I was a freshman in college.
Yeah.
So it's like it has to be a movie of such a compelling nature that gets me to actually like want to go to the movies.
I don't actually follow like movies really. I don't go to the theater. I was talking more about shows because shows are starting to employ it. I just finished. I just finished watching Paradise on Hulu, which really does that non-linear storytelling
Uh,
that unfolds it
well,
like a mystery almost, and it was very fascinating. It's very
well,
cool.
there were okay. So I don't know a lot of TV shows, but I know of TV shows.
Yeah.
I don't watch a lot of TV in general. Like
I love
there
background
was
noise.
there was maybe a point in college when I watched a lot of TV, but anymore I just like I in do I really want to start this conversation?
Nah, it's fine.
I'm just
We
gonna
can
leave it. I don't really watch a lot of TV
yeah,
anymore. To
we
the point where I only have one streaming service, which is Netflix,
which is fair.
and I like so don't care
No, it's
to
fair.
justify other streaming service.
I love watching stuff with James, so we do a lot of that.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's like for me and my lifestyle, it just doesn't make sense.
yeah, which
So
is
I
fair.
don't watch a lot of TV, and even before that, I didn't really watch a lot of TV. So, but I know of shows.
Yeah.
So I feel like, especially in the early 2000s, there were a lot of shows like that where you kind of have like
A lot of
you
flashbacks, a lot of like
yeah
finding other
yeah
details within other stories and like getting the
yeah
story in a non-chronological order. Yeah,
yeah.
it's coming
That was
back really big
I feel like
in
that's a
shows.
very I feel like that was in a lot of like early 2000s
It
TV
was.
shows.
It's coming back, and I like it because
think
I like the
Well, I
little
think
like
it serves like for especially as like a TV show, I think it actually that format really
it works.
yeah, it works really
It
well for that
works. Not
format.
as
You have to
movies.
be more judicious with
Mm-hmm.
movies.
All right, we're
Um,
about 2.5 hours in, so we gotta wrap this up.
oh shoot.
Yeah. So, anyway, so Odysseus
Oh yeah,
and his
so
hubris is like
Odysseus wants okay, he's escaped. He
he's
can just
out.
go.
He's
But no,
good.
Odysseus turns around and just taunts this giant who ruins the prow of his hurls a boulder and ruins the prow of his ship.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh come on, dude. Also,
Yeah.
Polyphemus mentions wizards.
Yeah, that was super cool. Um
Honestly,
uh
so much of wizardry in the fantasy genre has now made sense.
right. My translation calls him a prophet, but wizard sounds way cooler, so I'm gonna stick with that.
Oh, and mine is a wizard.
That's so much better. I like that. He's a wizard.
Yeah. Anyways,
Um
so
and he gives
he's like, basically, he's just like, go. Like, what? He's just yelling back, and,
and like his
what?
crewmen are like, shut up, Odysseus, shut up right now. And he's like, it's me,
Well,
Odysseus.
like, they don't tell him to shut up, but the
They
sentiment is there.
yeah, but they're pretty much
And
like, dude, stop.
then, but like, the Cyclops first, like, tries to, like, lure them back for some reason, and then Odysseus leaves, and then he turns back again and yells at him again, and then Polyphemus curses Odysseus, which is now
Yeah.
we're finally getting that detail.
Yeah,
That very key detail of why Poseidon hates him so much.
because he
And it's
hurt
because he
his
messed with his
boy.
son.
He hurt his
And then
boy.
his son invoked his dad's name.
He said,
And it's like,
"Daddy, I
oh,
need help."
well, now I kind of have to hate you.
Yeah. A couple of quick notes about some of the stuff that Polyphemus said. One, I think it's interesting that he had a very direct and very specific prophecy about what would happen to him. He says, all this he warned me would come to pass someday, that I'd be blinded here at the hands of one Odysseus. And so he's like, crap, that was you. And this guy, he's like, oh, come back. We're cool.
I think that's interesting because we see in other Greek plays,
Yeah.
especially in which are much later than the Odyssey.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, we see in Greek plays much later the whole self-fulfilling prophecy
Yes.
thing.
Big thing. One note I want to make though is I interpreted this bit with the Cyclops a little bit differently, I think, than you did. So after he is like, oh God, the prophecy is come to pass, and then he's like, oh man, I always thought Odysseus was going to be some strong other Cyclops I'd have to battle. I didn't think you'd come from, and I quote, a dwarf, a spineless good-for-nothing. I was like, damn, you'd have to do Odysseus like that.
So in mine is always I had in mind some giants
Yeah.
armed in giant force would come against me here, but you, small, pitiful, and twiggy, you put me down with wine. You blinded me. See, don't put yourself down with wine. Stay
See,
sober.
right. And so I think this next little chunk
You don't want to
where
accidentally stab yourself with a pencil.
right. But so you said that Polyphemus was trying to lure them back to the island. And I do think that some of this was...
Yes, because he says, come back, Odysseus,
Yeah.
and I'll treat you well.
And I do think part of this was genuine, because I do think that he kind of interpreted, like, oh crap, I didn't heed the proper warnings from the gods. Let me make this right. Because the way that Odysseus responds, I think, is a little dramatic, because he's like, no, fuck you.
If I could take your life, I would take your time away and hurl you down to hell. He just ate his people. He watched him eat his men in front of them.
No,
there
I
was
get that.
Blood and guts running from the teeth.
I agree.
What do you think is genuine about this?
No, okay, I think this is very much so a moment of, like, not wanting to anger the gods further, or realizing he may have angered the gods by not following their rule.
Okay, we already established that this character has no care in the world for the courtesy of the gods.
No, well, except for Poseidon.
Yes.
No, because he's talking about Poseidon. The only god he cares about is Poseidon, because that's his dad. And so he's like, crap, I need to find some way to make this right so that Poseidon will come and heal me. Well, see, here's the thing, is because he was offering a genuine, like, hey, here's a satisfying thing.
That it was genuine.
No, I don't.
You don't know that it was genuine, though, and I'm inclined to
you don't either. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think we interpreted this differently.
There is no precedence in this character that makes you believe that what he is saying is true.
I don't know. I genuinely think from his conversation with his ram that there is some part of him that is, like, self-fulfilling.
We just talked about this. We're doing it. Oh, he brutalized and
I'm not saying he's cool and that they should go back and hug it out.
Oh, he treated his ram with kindness.
Yeah.
So he has to be a sincere guy.
No, what I'm saying is that there's some threads here that make sense to the storytelling narrative. And again, I'm not saying that they should have been like, you know what, Polyphemus, you're right. Let's go hug it out. We're buddies now. What I'm saying is it's a very quick turnaround from, hey, crap, I have to somehow make this right for my sake. He just wants to be healed. And he needs this amendment to get the healing. And Odysseus... Wait, let me finish my thought.
Where are you? Where are you that you were getting healing?
The very end of his little, like, oh god, it was you, Odysseus. Yeah. He says,
this black one.
I am his son, and he claims to be my father, true, and he himself will heal me if he pleases. No other blessed god, no man can do the work. So he's talking about getting a blessing from his dad, and he's saying, hey, if I can get my dad here, he'll help you get back home and also heal me. So let's do this offering to Poseidon. And then Odysseus pretty much shoots back, no, screw you. I hope you never ever get healed.
He committed
I'm not saying he's right. Allow me to finish my thought. It is after Odysseus gives that final screw you blow that he then turns around and curses Odysseus. All I'm saying is, if he had maybe, even for a moment, did it, if only to serve his own way home, maybe Poseidon wouldn't have been pissed off at him, is all I'm saying. I'm not saying he should forgive him because he's a good boy, and that he deserves to be forgiven. I'm saying, as far as his story goes, this could have been a moment of decision that could have gotten him home faster.
So, I don't think if he had quit while he was ahead, to put it in our
right. I mean, he already screwed up too much.
Put it in our colloquialisms. if he had quit while he was ahead and did not let his anger flare in the first place and yell at the Cyclops, that offer would not have happened anyways.
Same. That's
So,
agreed. He
it
should have
didn't
just kept his
really
mouth
matter.
shut.
It didn't really matter at all.
All I'm saying,
because
yeah. I just think
he was angry.
Yes.
He should have just gone and kept his mouth shut.
Right?
And then none of this would have happened.
No, he was just digging a deeper grave for himself this whole time. He was like, how can I make this worse? All right, let's invoke the wrath of Poseidon.
He didn't know that Polyphemus. Yeah. Okay.
Maybe I don't know. I don't know if it was general knowledge to the people of this era and myth that Cyclopses were the children of Poseidon or not. So I don't know.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I'm really hungry right now.
I'm also very tired. My Benadryl has kicked in.
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, you have worse out. I mean, I'm allergic to pollen in the sense that if like I have a bunch of pollen around, like if I'm trapped in a ball of pollen, which I have done before, I feel like I'm suffocating.
Oh, it takes the window being open. And that's it.
Yeah, that's worse for me.
Yeah.
That's worse than me.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's alright. The Benadryl's doing its
I just realized I don't know why I was fighting this battle. Because it didn't matter in the end.
It didn't. I was just a random point of interpretation.
I was also just like, why would he trust this person?
No, I think that's also fair. It's just, it's a line.
When someone does you wrong like that, you don't trust them, regardless of whether or not, maybe they seem genuine.
No, and I think that's a good point. I think for me, it was this, throughout the Odyssey, and even some in the Iliad, there was this big theme about amendment and forgiveness. And Odysseus...
Which is a common... Actually...
Yeah, and Odysseus had always been very quick.
In both the Homeric tales, in the Iliad
and Odyssey. And Odysseus himself had been very quick to forgive people in the past. And so I think the subversion of him immediately saying, no, I'm not going to make amends with you, also kind of adds on to that whole, like, the Cyclopses don't do hospitality. So it's a subversion of customs among the Greek people that we are seeing being flipped here on the island of the Cyclops, which I thought was a very neat point to make.
But, okay,
I'm not saying he deserved to be forgiven. Just saying it was interesting.
Okay, no, you went from Odysseus forgiving the Cyclops to the subversion of the hospitality on the Isle of the Cyclops, which are two different points.
Yes.
But those are two different statements and two different points.
Yes, but I'm saying we have these different customs among the Greek, which is amendment and forgiveness, and hospitality, both of which are absent from the Cyclops. They don't do either of those things.
I needed you to finish the statement and finish the conclusion.
Yeah, thanks.
We're both hungry, and we need to make ourselves clear.
We do. But I just thought that was neat. I'm like, we're seeing quite literally how these things are not the same among these different cultures. And that Odysseus is, like, breaking even his own customs by refusing to make amends. Which I was like, that's okay. Go. Slay, Odysseus. Do it. Quite literally.
Or be slayed.
Slay or be slayed. It's the only way.
Or be slayed. That is your choice.
All right. So let's wrap this up. Next time.
Okay. Next time
we are reading.
Next time, maybe we need to like cut the Sparks notes.
We need to have like time limits for each chapter. Like we can only dedicate 30 minutes per chapter, and then we have
30?
to move on.
Only 30?
I know. But
this was fun though.
This was fun.
I think this was fun because it's like, we're finally getting to like some of the most famous parts.
We're finally getting to like the meat.
Honestly, like for me, the build up was worth it.
It was. I thought it was good.
Yeah.
All right, so we are going to read books 10 through 12?
Yes.
Yes.
So
10, 11,
in my
and 12.
copy, it's from page 165 to 225.
All right, and
And
next
2 weeks.
stream in 2 weeks, we are not doing a live stream. We are just posting a recording.
Yeah, because I'm traveling,
Yeah.
and the whole point of this stream is that we will persevere despite all
We're
of the things in our lives that keep us from reading,
yeah.
and we're sticking to
We're
it.
persistent, that's for sure.
I mean, honestly, if people listen to this far in the video, you get it.
We're at 20 till 3 hours.
Okay. Books 10 through 12, pages 165 to 225. You do not read book 13. You go to book 13
yes.
in 2 weeks. All right.
We'll see you
Good
the
night.
28th. Happy reading.